Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I'm so delighted to welcome our next guest. He's a Grammy nominated actor. He's won a couple of Broadway World Awards from the UK. Am I right about that? From
You
your
are you are indeed. Yeah. Keep
Roland
going.
Les Mis. Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, I told
Yeah.
you I did my research. Also, last seen on the Broadway in Moulin Rouge, the musical, originating the role as the Duke. Please welcome Mr. Tam Mutu. Woohoo! You
Hello.
picked
Hi.
yourself up. Woo, woo,
Woo woo. Yeah. Yeah.
woo.
As you'll learn about me, I underplay most things. So yeah, but like woo, yeah.
Or
Team
like,
Duke, Team Duke. Yeah.
or
Hi. Thank you,
boo.
man.
I'm
Oh
just
yeah, but I did get that. I did get that in the show. Believe it or not, it was there were nights when it turned into a pantomime, a British pantomime, when I was booed. Happens.
oh.
Yeah.
Well, is that why you have bands with boo?
Yeah, I mean, Bands with Boo was just kind of we just goofing around, I guess. Me and
I know
Ricky
you
just
listen, you had a lot of live videos,
we
like live
did.
streams
Well,
back.
Ricky loves a live. He does him and Aaron. Well, it was, it was you couldn't escape it because my room was next to Ricky's,
Mm-hmm.
and every day they'd be in there doing a live, especially between shows. You can guarantee they're in there singing and doing what just so it was you couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
but then we just kind of
I think
that's what
there
we involved.
was a live on your Instagram that I watched recently, again, in my research before you came
Hmm.
on. I think you did like a mini makeup tutorial.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so good at that, as you could tell.
I was like, I'm
Yeah,
wearing makeup right now. I'm like, I know. Same.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the Duke had obviously music, had makeup per se, um, but I just thought it was a ridiculous thing because when people always, I like mocking social media a little bit because
Mhm.
people take it quite seriously, and I think is it really that's what it's for? But I'm not sure. But the whole makeup thing, that's the thing. People take that very seriously. They do their like little tutorials, and
Yeah.
I'm like, come on. So I thought I'll do a Duke one, which is kind of ridiculous.
I
So
will say
yeah.
there are two makeup people that I follow on Instagram, and they don't do like tutorials. They're just like, oh my God, check out this product. I'm gonna try it on. Oh my God, this product's amazing. And I just like that, you know. I also am like, this is what my makeup is. It's natural. I look somewhat human when I wear it, and we call it a day.
Hmm.
So there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, speaking of makeup, like what's the craziest makeup you've ever had to wear for a show? Because you've done like a lot, you've done like Shakespeare to the Duke. Like you run up like 20 plus years of doing shows. Like even maybe in your like Medici, was there anything?
No, that was just I was just very muddy in that one. Just a lot of dirt. There was a lot of dirt in that. The Duke is kind of was pretty. It's pretty out there. I think. I think is trying to think of anything else. I
Well,
mean,
maybe
Les Mis. I mean, it's kind of like gaunt looking, a bit of a bit of powder, a bit of sideburnnage. Not really. I mean,
what
I.
about Love Never Dies when you went on for Fandom?
Oh
Or if you ever went
yeah,
on for Fandom? I didn't deep dive that much into your if you
right.
went on for him.
No, I did. I alternated. So that was a thing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a brutal process because putting that shit on every day is, oh, it's not fun. It's not.
Yeah.
I can imagine. It's a bit of a grind because obviously you have to come in extra early. You have to sit in
Mhm.
the chair and that, and you get and the makeup people are always lovely, and that's fine. It's just, but it's like having people on your face and in your space all the time. I don't know how models and people like that do it, but like it's different when you're putting like a layer of almost plastic over your face. It
Yeah.
became, yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy that, if I'm honest. I think I maybe suffer a little bit from claustrophobia, probably. That's probably why. But yeah, that was not fun, and it was quite excessive as well. So quite a, I think it was three pieces I had to have on, plus a wig over the top. So as we were in the chair, I think the first run of it was probably about an hour, and it was actually I think originally it was over for about 2 hours,
Oh.
and then they eventually got it down to about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. It was around that. So every day it kind of it's cumulative. And in between shows, you'd leave it on because you thought, shit, I ain't taking that off, and then
Yeah.
putting that back on again.
Yeah.
So probably I would probably say that. But in terms of like just makeup for ridiculous makeup's sake, probably the Duke, I'd say. You know, with eyeliner and
Yeah.
a lot of rouge on the cheeks and a lot of black eyeshadow. You know, it's just my everyday wear.
Yeah. You're wearing it right now.
I've got it on right now. You
There you
can't
go.
see this, but right
Yeah.
now I'm wearing black eyeshadow. Deal
And
with
in
it.
honor of Satine, you put on a red lip. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. You know what I mean? So like, you know, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's Christmas time, you know?
Yeah, there you go. I will say it's so funny when you said like you would leave it on. That just brought into my head when Laura Linney did a play. I can't remember the name of it, but I did see it where she played this war reporter who got injured overseas. So she had to come back and her body was just covered in all of these like burns or scars or something.
Uh-huh.
And she talked about how like there were days where she just like left it on and she goes, yeah, I'd be at the gym and I'd be getting weird looks because I had this body makeup on me and I just didn't take it off.
Yeah, that I guess I can, oh my God, because it's just like the process is it's too much sometimes.
Yeah.
When I was filming Medici, interestingly, I had to have these terrible extensions put into my hair,
Mhm.
almost mullet-esque, classic mullet. It looked like a mullet because I had short hair at the time, and they were like, "We're going to give you these really long locks." If you, but the problem was, I said, "Guys, you can't leave the. What about the front?" I'm like, I have. It's basically a mullet right now. This is kind of like this is the Duke of Milan. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that
I
hair
don't think he
like
has
is,
a mullet.
yeah, I think like that's more like Roman as opposed to Milan. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, I said, so anyway, but that got to a point where between filming, I'd fly back to the UK and I'd leave it in because
Mhm.
again, it took so long for them to get it all in. Um, I just thought, you know what, screw it, I'm going to leave it in. And so I'd be going home with this mullet, you know,
Yeah.
flying British Airways. Hi, I love
Put
your
on an
mullet.
American
Thank
accent. Be like, I'm actually from Alabama.
Yeah, I'm actually from LA, man. You know, it's like, yeah, don't worry about me. But yeah, that's another time when I kind of did similar thing as Laura. Not as excessive as Laura, probably with this with the burns, you know, as you know,
Yeah.
she takes her t-shirt off and you know, just burned up. But
Yeah.
mm,
Now it's gonna
yeah.
bother me that I can't remember the name of that play. It'll come to me after. It's fine. But so I usually start the podcast with where are you from?
Oh, where am I from? I
Yeah.
am from, for those of you who don't know, I am from a town called Hastings, which
Mhm.
is on the southeast coast of England in the United Kingdom. I was there for a significant period of my life from birth to 16, 17, around then. And then I went off to other pastures. Um, I went to London and studied
Mhm.
what we call the theatre. Um, and then I didn't come over here until 2015.
Oh, we're gonna get into all of that, Tam.
Okay, sorry, I'm
Don't
jumping
worry.
ahead. I'm getting
Oh no,
too.
it's fine. It happens. All good. Hakuna Matata.
Hmm.
So I'm from my research that I've done, you had I don't want to say stereotypical thing that happened, that you were like really into sports, you got injured, and then you got into theater.
Mhm.
That's kind of what happened. I always feel like it's either that's what happened or like all the girls were in theater, so that's what I did. It's one of the two.
It's probably both, to be fair.
Okay.
A little bit of both. A little bit of
So
both.
you were really into football, or as Americans call it, soccer, and
Hmm.
then you injured yourself. So what made you decide like, F it, I'm just gonna do theater now that I've hurt myself?
There was this, yeah, it's kind of random. There was this kind of crossover period when I was around 15. Friends of mine were going to um the local amateur dramatic society, and they were saying we're doing shows, and we're like and back then there were like no boys. It was just all girls that did it. Very very few boys that were amateur dramatics. So a lot of older men, but like in terms of younger sort of teenagers, there weren't very many who were sort of interested in it or doing it. Especially from where I was from. Um, so they said, please come along, like you should come with us. And, there are girls there. It's fun. I'm like, oh, I don't know. This is kind of like, sounds a bit, a bit wonky. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was me. And so I went and had to audition actually, um, for the musical Half a Sixpence. Do you know that one?
I've heard
Probably.
of it.
Yeah.
We played it in the UK for a bit. I remember
Yeah.
years
So
ago.
I auditioned for this little ditty called Half a Sixpence. And I ended up getting a little role in it, one of the shop boys, I think I was called, a shop boy. And it was kind of random, but like I kind of had a good, it was fun. It was different, growing up, all I did was live and breathe sports, and specifically football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. And
I just
so
binged
to
all of Ted Lasso, so you are allowed
yeah,
football
and
on me.
basically I was one of those kind of guys, one of those dudes, who just basically was like, and being in shorts and training gear all the time, and not, male testosterone through the roof. And that's basically all I lived and breathed. And I loved it. And I was, obsessed with it. But then to sort of have this little doorway suddenly opened to a different world, which I hadn't sort of no experience in at all. I suddenly sort of grew a great lightness and fondness of it, and made friends. And it was just so different, so alien to everything I was used to, and the way the structure of it, the way it was, the freedom, the different age groups, the different, it was sexuality, everything about it was just so completely off the grid for me. And I was like, okay, this is fun. So I just kind of went with it a little bit, I suppose. And then yeah, kind of that's how it started anyway. So, and I always talk about it in the sense of like I got on like this train journey, the mistaken identity train journey kind of thing, not the one I was supposed to be on. And I got on it, and I've never sort of gotten off of it. Really
Yeah.
weird. That's basically what I put it down to.
So I think like the ultimate goal is for you to play somebody within like the sports football arena, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny because like when Ted Lasso came out, everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's this show, Ted Lasso. Why are you not in it?" I'm like, "There's a guy in it who's just like you, who's like you." And I knew who they were referencing.
Are
I
they
was
talking? Can I say the name?
go on.
Roy Kent?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, so I watched an episode, and I thought, this guy is basically just playing me. I'm like, he's me. So I
You
just
just like
I'm
lovingly like yell at people by their name, like Tony,
yeah, I was like, this
other
guy's me. It's
room.
like he's playing my. I'm like, so yeah. So I haven't watched many of them, to be fair. But I know people love it.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's a reason I had to watch Ted Lasso.
go on.
Is one of my best friends. I I don't, harassing is a harsh word. I've been lovingly annoying for the
Hmm.
last 3 years for her to watch normal people. And there's a particular person on Ted Lasso who I am not a big fan of. And I said to them, if you watch normal people, I will sacrifice my disdain for this person and I will watch Ted Lasso.
Okay.
So we had our annual holiday dinner last week. She
Uh-huh.
gives me a card with her Apple ID stuff and says, "You have to watch Ted Lasso now." So
So you binged it.
I binged it. Yeah.
People like it. I don't
Oh,
know.
I loved it. I just still can't stand that person, but not to name names.
No, we won't. No, we won't. Then I won't put you on. I won't do that. I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be that guy. But I'm
But it
curious.
is not Brett Goldstein. In
No,
case
people love him. I mean, he is funny in it. I give him his due. But I'm like, because I am funny, so it's very easy now. When you're playing me, buddy, it's kind of easy to be fun.
you just go
It's,
as him for Halloween next year.
I'm like, hey, like, has he been stalking me? Has he, like, should I be more concerned?
Yeah.
Should I
Just make
check my
sure, see if he follows you on Instagram.
exactly? I'm like,
He's
bro,
like,
have you been following me around? Have you been watching my video? No, I'm kidding.
yeah.
It's like he's very
No,
good in that.
I'm
Good
sure
for
he saw you as Javert back in the
yeah,
day.
he probably did. He's probably
Huh.
yeah, yeah.
Sure,
No,
he saw City of Angels.
no, I'm pretty sure he's a very established, well, very good actor who has done his own work. Not following me at all.
It's an audience. I don't know. I mean, I just watched an interview with him and Hannah Waddingham and her saying how like uh the first day they met, he like came up to her and was like, I've seen everything you've ever done.
Oh
And
wow.
she's like huge on the West End. And she,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so
He definitely strikes me. Watching his interview. I've seen a couple of his interviews actually, and I do think he's comes across as being quite. He's very intense. He's a very intense person.
yeah.
Seems that way. But I
Mhm.
mean, maybe I'm wrong, but he seems that way.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
we digress
We
from
digress. I told you we get off track, and
yeah.
that's
So
fine. It
that's
happens.
okay.
Well, I will say it's rumored that Dear England is coming,
It is. It is. It is indeed. I heard that as
which
well.
I'm just, throwing it out there, Tam. You
No,
are,
I looked. I did look. I looked already.
I was
It's
actually,
very specific. It's very that show is very specific because I have friends who have been in it and I have friends who've seen it. So if there was anything in it which I felt like I could do, then I
Mhm.
would definitely throw my name into the hat. But there isn't, sadly. It's very specific and I don't really fit into any of the categories because a lot of the parts they almost triple, quadruple up to several parts, so it's you have to be good with lots of different accents and stuff, and there's I don't think there's any in there where I was like, oh okay, I could do that, because it just doesn't work, just doesn't, sadly, because
Yeah.
I've heard it's excellent. I've heard it's real fun.
I was supposed to see it when I was in London six
Right.
months ago on its first night of previews, but I got an email like a day or two before saying they had to cancel the performance because they were behind on tech.
Oh, that's
And
sad.
yeah, and the only other time I could have seen it was the day that I was interviewing the cast of The Shape of Things,
Uh-huh.
like all the way like north of where I was. And I
Right.
was like, I don't have time to go to the Park Theater, come back to my hotel, and then go to the South Bank. I'm like,
Nope.
there's just no way
Nope.
I would have had time. So I got a refund and it
No, it's a
killed
shame.
me so
That's a
much.
shame. But I think it is definitely coming here. As
Yeah,
from what I've heard, it is.
yeah,
I saw a breakdown for it as well. So
yeah.
mm.
And it was also going to be my first time seeing a show at the National, which
Oh, so you haven't seen anything there yet? Oh, that's a
I
good.
mean,
That's a
I've seen
nice.
like National Theater Live and I've seen like things that they brought to New York, but
Right.
I've only ever
No,
been to London twice, but still, like,
no, it's fun in there. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've worked there a few times, so it's a nice place to work. It is a
yeah,
nice place to work. A nice building. It looks ugly if you, in terms of architecturally, if you like that kind of thing, great. I know it's meant to be something which some people either love or hate it, but it's a very odd building, but
yeah.
it's a great place to work. It is.
Well, it's just somebody once asked me on a podcast what my favorite theater on Broadway is, like, and I said the Vivian.
Aesthetically, or
Yeah,
okay.
I was like, well, I really like the Vivian Beaumont, but
That's
then they
yeah,
were
it's nice
like,
theater. It
but
is a
they were
nice theater.
saying like, the inside, what it looks like, and all that, and they said it was the Jacobs, and I never really thought of it before. But then I was at the Belasco a few weeks ago, and I was like, this is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because I haven't seen all of them. I've been to many a theater in New York, but I haven't seen all of them. And sometimes you forget what they look like inside. You forget you. The nicest one I think I've worked in, it's not New York theater though, is the Colonial when they redid it in
Mhm.
Boston, Emerson
Yeah,
Colonial. Oh my God, that's a beautiful theater. They did that very well.
I saw Moulin Rouge there.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah.
It's that theater's amazing. That's like the revamp of that place was
Mhm.
special. They did a really good job with that. So
Yeah.
if you get a chance to go to Boston, the Colonial, go and see something. Go,
Yeah.
whoever's listening. If
Yes.
you go to Boston,
Which is going to
um,
be all of your followers on all of the
10
social.
million people. It'll be about 10
Yes,
million. It's just at
including
least
Brett Goldstein.
exactly because he's been stalking me. I know he
He's
has.
stalking you. He's going to have you on his podcast asking you about like when you die, what movies you're going to bring with you.
I actually thought I've had someone say to me before as well, saying, "Do you think they sort of like when they get into his character and I think like they might bring his brother in. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
You know,
I'm
Tam,
like,
I don't know you that well, so I can't say whether or not.
I'm like, no, it's like it's too late. They had their chance. They went with him.
Yeah, who knows?
They went exactly. They had their chance. They,
Um, yeah,
they could have gone straight to the horse instead of
yeah.
the, you
Maybe they'll do like, I don't know, Ted Lasso.
exactly. Yeah, Lazio with the mullet. The one with
Ted
the guy with
Lasso. Yeah, it's like Medici.
it's like Majichu on with a mullet and soccer.
Yeah,
Brilliant. And
Ted Lasso, but
people
like the
people will be
Italian
queuing up.
version.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people will be queuing up to see it. They will. They won't be able to wait.
it'll be on
Um,
Apple TV plus plus.
it'll be on Orange TV. It's
Yes, you
new.
know,
People haven't heard of it yet. It's coming. It's up and
yeah.
coming.
They
It's up and
had,
coming.
their version of iTunes. It's called Orange Tunes, and
Exactly. It's
yeah,
perfect. We got
yeah.
it.
So, what made you decide to attend the Guilford School of Acting?
Yeah. Again, me being just being honest. I was very much about I looked at a few schools, quite a few schools, and I didn't know enough about it. I was such a noob. I really was. Um,
I'm
I was
nodding
like a,
because I was very green going
I
into.
was too green. I know I was very like kind of street savvy in terms of like life and like going out and all that kind of, but in terms of like theater, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue at all. So basically what I did, so I had all these auditions for places and places like Bristol Old Vic and Arts Ed, and lots of places. And um, I went to Guildford, and I really liked the place. I really liked the town. I thought it was really cute. It wasn't too far from where some of my best friends live, so I knew that I had people close by. Because I'm very family oriented. I don't I do well on my own, and actually, as I've got older, I like actually like to be on my own more. But back then, I liked to be around people a lot more, and I had more faith in humanity back then, I felt. And
Sorry. Yeah, I understand that.
but
Mhm. And I told
but
my therapist I'm going to be doubling up next year.
now I'm like, yeah, you can, yeah, I'm good. I'll be on my own for you. Yeah, you go out. I'll be on my own for a while,
Mhm.
like 6 months. It's fine. I'll be fine. Um, but no, back then I was very much, I liked having people about, and I was nervous. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't understand it. I didn't really know anything about the courses either. I was just I'd asked people and suggestions and Guildford was high on the list at the time. I know it's been gone through many a makeover and transition little periods, but at the time it was a very respected school, and I thought, oh, I like it. I liked the town. I liked the place. It felt homey. So that's why I kind of ended up going there. I had offers for lots of places, but that's the one I chose.
Mhm.
Whether that was a stupid move, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Who knows? But I had a good time there, and they were very nice to me, and I made a lot of a lot of good friends, and it was a very good experience for someone who was basically a virgin. So yeah, that's why I went there.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth.
Yeah. I feel very similar because when I went to college, I ended up going to Pace University,
Oh,
and it was really hard for me to like tell my parents I wanted to, pursue theater. And, I applied to all these different schools and I secretly looked to see their theater program. And after I was accepted to Pace, that's actually when I auditioned for the musical theater department, didn't get into that. So I was like BA theater. And then I was talking to a professor, I think like my junior year, and he's like, you're taking all of these BFA classes. And the reason I was doing that was because I was just taking the classes that my friends were, not really
right.
knowing what the fuck I was doing.
No, fair point.
And yeah, he said, I did a show my junior year called The Food Chain. And he said, we'll use that as your audition. You won't have to re-audition and you'll just become a BFA. And then we walked out of his office. The head of the department was there. He goes, yeah, she's going to become a BFA and we're going to use The Food Chain as her audition. And the guy goes, okay. And that's how I like became a BFA in acting. Like,
Okay. Yeah, it's
yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's like, sure. Yeah, like a 21-year-old playing like a 60-plus-year-old woman with the Long Island accent. Sure.
I could no, no. I mean, oh my God, yeah.
You could say it. It's me in another 30 years. It's fine. I I was fully aware at that age that I'm like, this is me in like 30, 40 years from now. Long Island accent, like Jewish mother. It
Yeah.
it's there. It's there.
Oh. It's weird. I kind of feel like that. It's like, I don't know about here, but in England, it sounds like it's probably the same. But I mean, you do have guidance counselors here and stuff. They don't have that in England. It's like basically you just do
Yeah.
go choose, go pick, go fly,
Mhm.
go make it up as you go along, which is what I kind of feel like everyone does in England a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, guidance counselors and people who advise you and maybe it's changed now. I'm guessing it would have done. It had to evolve at some point because it was so antiquated. But I don't know, like in terms of people to talk to and understand what you want to do and where you want to go. It's kind of a, especially if you don't have role models. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very difficult. It's difficult being a teenager. It's hard. It's really hard. It's hard
Well,
back then. I don't know about now, but I
well,
mean,
I've also sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I just think like back then it was hard, and I'm sure it's even harder now because the social media aspect of things now and how sensitive they all are now. You can't
Yeah.
you can't say boo at them without them having a meltdown.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's very different. Very, very different.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this many times on the podcast, but I did not have the nicest theater teacher
Mm-hmm.
when I was in high school. I've told this story before, but I'll tell you.
No, go on.
She brought the creators of Brooklyn the Musical to my high school. And this was my senior year, and I was really struggling with trying to like figure out how I want to tell my parents I want to go into theater. And I'm talking to the female creative, hysterically crying, like trying to get her
I don't know,
advice.
I'm laughing. Sorry.
No, it's fine. You, yeah, just laugh at my yeah.
Yeah, just like, ah, you are Sarah. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
should I just start calling you Roy Kent then?
Yeah, exactly. See,
Thanks,
told
Roy.
you.
We're gonna get you no, you probably didn't watch that episode because you said you only seen a few, so then never mind.
No.
Um, but so the drama teacher, the theater teacher came over while I'm talking to this woman, hysterically crying, trying to get advice from her, and her being very lovely and giving me advice and trying to calm me, asks me to move to the side so she can get a photo with her and the other person that created this musical while I'm standing there like hysterically crying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great, great
So
teacher.
I lovingly call her blank years later after I graduated, the spawn of Satan.
Nice.
And at a friend's wedding last year, I found out that that teacher no longer teaches drama. And it's probably whenever I'm in a bad mood or I'm down, I just think of that and it makes me feel so much better. And I know that's like a horrible thing,
No,
but
it's not because she wasn't doing her job.
it's
She wasn't
not.
being present and doing her primary objective, which is to look after her students. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So like she also like graded me. Like I took a public speaking class with her and she graded me on an assignment I wasn't even there for. So like
Okay.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
we can't really take her seriously, can we?
yeah.
So okay, fair point. It's amazing. Again, the difference. I feel like from the teaching aspect of things as well. From when I don't want to sound like this. People are like, oh, when I was a child, things were very different. But it was. I feel like now they're so hands on with every the detail that goes into things now. I think is way uh, it's almost microscopic, where they go fine tooth comb, go through everything. Um, Teacher behavior, having more people in the room to look after kids and students. And back when if you had a shitty teacher back when we were growing up, or when I was growing up specifically, it was too tough titty. You just got on with it. You know what I mean? It's nothing you could do about it. And it's only when you get older you kind of feel like how profound an impact they have on your life. And if you get a good teacher
Yeah.
to having a crappy teacher,
Mhm.
it's significant. It can be life changing.
Yeah.
So it is, we all joke about it and laugh about it, but it's easy to laugh about. But actually, they're so instrumental in building, you know, little human beings.
Mhm.
So I respect teachers, and especially the ones nowadays, because I know it's much more complex, and the students are way more complex now.
Mhm.
So to sort of be around, I just have a lot of respect for the teacher, because especially if you have good ones, good for you, because everyone needs good teachers, and
Yeah.
it's a shame that the bad ones survived for so long, and I'm glad things have changed, hopefully for the better, hopefully anyway.
She
But
doesn't
anyway,
come anymore, so there we go.
no.
But that's interesting that you're mentioning that because you also do teach as well.
Hmm. I
So,
do. Yeah, I do. I do some like coaching, and interestingly, I grew up coaching when I was because I was very lucky without blowing my own trumpet. I was very good at soccer. I was very at football. I was very good at it, and I took badges in England as well, to sort of coaching badges, to because I loved it so much. I wanted to be involved in that side of it as well. So when I was at high school, and in like my senior years, I would be coaching the juniors and stuff. So that was fun. And then recently, actually, when I came here, because I'd left it alone for so long, and I'd done a bit like throughout my time, I'd like work with different soccer teams, football teams. But recently here, I came to the US, and I just recently did my D license over here, because I thought, oh, do you know what? I want to get back into it. And this is just soccer, by the way. So I did my D license with the aim of like potentially keep going up to my A. Um, because I love it, and it's fun, and I like working with students. I like people learning and helping, and I don't think there's anything more rewarding than watching somebody sort of grow in front of you. It sounds there's nothing more rewarding than that. I don't think. I don't. It's because in our business, we're so myopic. It's all about consistently across the board. Um, and I have a huge love-hate relationship with that. I feel like, it's a necessity in the sense of you have to be on point all the time, and have to be at the top of your game, and focused on yourself, and self-centered to per se. But at times I feel like it's very easy for actors and performers to lose themselves. Um, and to me, what's way more interesting is giving back and sharing. So the coaching thing I did with I love doing, and picked up, as I said, I picked up with that recently, and was doing quite well with it. But obviously that's time consuming, and I have to give away a lot of my time to then do my C license, B license, A license. I need to be involved in it a lot more, and obviously acting doesn't permit that. So I then started to transition. I transitioned I did some teaching back in England, acting teaching. And then when I got here, I had people reach out asking, do you do lessons? Do you do lessons? I would love to work with you. And I thought, you know what? Why not? It's if I can help, then now I have a great core of students, and new people coming all the time. And I have people that come in and go drop out, and then come back again, when they can, because I appreciate, they have lives, and they've got things going on. But yeah, I love it. I love working with people, and because it's when you've been in the business for a while, your enthusiasm it wanes a little for
yeah.
yourself. I mean, so when you get these students coming in, kind of gives you a new lease of life, because they're so enthusiastic, and some of these students are crazy good and crazy prepared, and more so than I ever was. Like, they're way on point. And so whatever like I can offer them or help them with, I love it. And the fact that they keep coming back is great. So it's hopefully means that I'm doing something right. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I love it. It's I feel like it's very rewarding, and it's nice to have those kind of relationships, because I feel like I know I learn as well. We never stop learning, but to be with a student with a different sort of perspective, and especially these younger kids. I don't know what are we, Gen Z now? What are we at? Where are we at now? Help me out.
And TikTok, I don't know. I have like a
Fuck,
brother
I'm
and
so
sister, like
bad. I
17,
can't
and
keep
I
up.
still have no
I
idea.
can't keep up. So, and they help me out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? They keep me grounded. They keep me relevant. They keep me sort of, and I love that. I love that about it. It's not just about, it's about helping many humans. And I have two kids, so I'm more invested in that kind of thing now as well. I feel like it's way more rewarding than any show I could do. Because again, it's like doing a show is sort of teamwork and you build something together, especially if it's a new show. It's fantastic, but it's not the same as helping somebody achieve their dreams. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
goals, or hit mini goals,
yeah,
so to speak.
yeah.
There's something more profound about it than that, I think. Anyway,
Well, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned how, like, back in the day, or at least like in the UK, you didn't have like these role models or anything. And it just popped into my head, and, bringing up how you teach, that I feel like now it's so different because you have all these different sites, or, performers are like, you can just DM me,
yeah,
where it, there's so many theater performers who are just so much more accessible now to these young people, or I guess anybody of any age who wants to learn from them.
100%. It's
That,
so true. We didn't
back
have
in the
we
day.
didn't have that back then. You had no one to call. I was brought up in an age where you had the old pick up the phone on the wall and you dial the numbers one at a time with the like,
Yeah.
what that's the number one. You know, I
Yeah.
remember my first mobile was the Motorola. Was it Motorola StarTAC? Some nonsense thing which was felt like a brick in your hand.
Yeah.
So things have evolved massively to the whole social media side of things. That's where social media is brilliant because you can access people and you can sort of learn and understand and glean information, which is hopefully useful because not all of it is on TikTok, etc., and on Instagram. But that's where it is really helpful because people can be in touch really quickly, Facebook, etc., etc. It's scary and it's a bit of a dark hole, but there are massive positives to it as alongside all of the glaring obviously rabbit holes. But yeah, I mean, I would have, it's you wouldn't have dreamed of like being able to. How would you have got a hold of someone? You go to stage door and ask, say, "Hi, I'm a weird fan." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? How would you do it? Can you sign my program? Everyone still does that now, but
Yeah.
they can sort of look at all your daily events on your social media page now. And
Yeah. It's stage door for me. Like, now that I'm older, it's just so much more uncomfortable for me now. Cause like when I was in college and younger, it'd be like, oh my God, like, but
yeah,
now
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like awkwardly like, you were great. Can you sign my play? But like, I don't really stage door anymore. I
No,
staged a play when I was in London just to like ask somebody to come onto my podcast, and that never happened. But other than like stage door, unless it's Laura Linney, then I will stage door for Laura Linney.
No, I listen, I can totally understand why people would want to stage door. I think COVID had a massive impact on stage door. I mean, I still don't think it's fully recovered, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
it's better, but it's still, and I mean that from like a performer's point of view in terms of going to stage door, not like in terms of like people coming to stage door going, "Hi, well done," which is wonderful because the but in terms of performers actually going and putting themselves out there, I feel like there's still a sort of unease about it. But yeah, I mean, stage door's like it's tradition, isn't it? They do it all over the place. I mean, I've never stage doored. I think I did it. I only when I know people in it, but I'm not one of those people that ever, like I said, because I was such a noob. I didn't understand theater. I didn't see a lot of it, so I was like, "Oh my God, you're who I wouldn't even know who they were." Do you know what I mean?
You're
So
like, you're my hero. Who are
you're
you?
my hero. Yeah,
Goldstein.
exactly. Brett
Goldstein. Yeah.
Goldstein. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're my hero. Yeah, no,
No, wait, I'm
um,
just like, I'm gonna manifest like you and him doing something together now. I don't know
yeah.
why.
Oh, well, it would be interesting to see if that ever
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. You
I
never know.
think I think the only person I ever really kind of fanned over, so to speak. I remember seeing Oklahoma at the National with Hugh Jackman,
Mm,
and he sort of fast became like a, I wouldn't say a role model, but kind of like someone I kind of had my eye on and thought, okay, he's he's someone who I can. I'm not saying I'm like Hugh Jackman at all, but like someone I can sort of see, I could sort of follow, and it made sense. Do you know what I mean? To me, like, okay, that's where what he's doing, his choices, it made sense to me. So I followed him, and when I met him actually when he came to see South Pacific, and he actually came to see Oliver recently as well at the City Center as well. So I mean, I've seen him a few times. He's a very nice guy, very nice. Um, but I remember seeing him at South Pacific, and and he is exactly how he is. He's so lovely and very charming and very genuine. And I remember having even more respect for him and thinking, oh yeah, you're someone who I admire and sort of, I want to say follow, but kind of have a lot of respect for
yeah,
in the industry. It's probably the only person I would ever say I'd like really gone, oh wow, yeah. It's especially in like sort of the musical theater, because I didn't know anybody. I was not as if I could list you. I didn't know Michael Crawford and all those kind of people like Colm Wilkinson. People had Colm as their hero. I'm like, I met Colm. I love him. I think he's brilliant. He's an amazing, lovely, funny guy. But he wasn't my hero growing up. My heroes
yeah,
were like, um, Maradona and people like like soccer stars. So
yeah. Has anybody or have you interacted or has it like ever come to your mind that maybe people feel that way about you?
no, it's not
Okay.
possible. It's not possible.
Okay. Because
It's just
Roy Kent, that's why.
exactly because I didn't get Roy Kent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, no, no, not really. No, I appreciate that it's people have a strong connection with. If I mean it fascinates me like the energy and the fans like proper fans.
Hmm.
I suppose they're no different from because I always reference things back to sports because I understand sports. To me, it makes sense, and I channel a lot of my energy and focus through sports into theater. Actually, which is why I've probably, I would say, been as lucky as I have and successful as I have and as focused as I have because I use that kind of tools that were given to me in that. It kind of doesn't make sense, but to me, I kind of treat each show as like I have to win this show, if that makes sense. To get through a show, I have to win it,
Yeah.
which to everyone will be like, what are you talking about? But like to me, it's like mini goals, and I have to, get through each scene, and I have to win. So to me, every performance is so individual and so significant. I don't ever, because I'm such a nervous person in the theater world anyway. I always feel like I have to be super focused, and that's how I've always been. Um, so I think the whole idea of um um what was I saying? I've lost my mind. I lost my thought.
No,
What were
so
you
I
just
asked you how you would feel if like people thought of you as like somebody that they looked up to.
Oh yeah, so that's what I was saying. So like the idea of how how fans come, you know what I mean? Like, so I think of a soccer fan, they go to every game, they go to all these like giants, New York Giants, and and they'll go and they're like they live and breathe it. And
Mhm.
Broadway people they have that sort of thing as well. So I understand that they know probably more about every part, every show that I would do than I do myself, in a sense. They're that invested in it. So you have to treat it with a significant amount of respect. And I do genuinely respect every fan because they're paying their money, they're investing their time and energy into you. But they do it kind of blows my mind how what's the word I'm looking for? Persistent. That's not persistent, but like how dedicated, that's the word.
Mhm.
how dedicated they are to go and seeing everything, to go and seeing every variation of something. A new person comes into the show, we'll go and see it to see how that affects. It's like wow, and I like people come and see the show 500 times. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I think about the monies, and I start to go to my mathematical brain, like how much money have they spent on tickets for to see this show? I'm like, it's a good show. Well, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's not going to change the world. It's a
Yeah.
fine show. But and then I start thinking about, okay, well, they don't think like that. It's not to them. It's not just a show. It's
Mhm.
kind of like part of being sort of growing with something. It kind of
Yeah.
feels like they're sort of part of the show
What
as
it is,
well.
it's their equivalent to like sports.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That's why I always go reference sports and stuff because it kind of is that. It kind of has to be that because that's the only way I can sort of understand it.
Hmm.
It's their weekly hit or endorphins of like a hit of something which is gonna take them away somewhere where they don't want to be in their normal lives. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which I
It's
totally
so,
understand.
yeah, it's so interesting. I honestly don't remember what I was watching or listening to, but I think, it was last week I saw a talk back with Andrew Scott, who,
Hmm.
if you listen to the podcast, Hot Priest Mug, he's a big deal of the podcast.
I remember saying I listened to the podcast where you were
Yeah.
talking about him a lot.
Yeah.
Yes,
Neil, there you go. See, I
he's
showed him up.
he's amazing.
Yeah, and it was Claire Foy, and I think they were talking about like, and it was with Josh Horowitz and something like with Comic-Con or like, I think they were asking him if he knew if he could tell the difference between a Sherlock Holmes fan and a Fleabag fan.
Hmm.
And he was talking about, the level of fandom that certain people have when it comes to shows or when they go to Comic-Con. And he goes, sometimes people look at that and they think that's weird or they think it's something. But, if you like a show like Sherlock and you dress up like the characters or whatever, but then you look at sports fans and it's not as weird, but it's like kind of the same thing that they're just so into this one thing, but it's more normalized. Like, to go to like American football game and, like wear the team colors and root for the team.
I mean, it's the same. It is the same.
Yeah.
It is. It's because like the social world wants you to say, okay, it's okay to go and watch sports and it's okay to be a fanatic about that, but to be a fanatic about performers and Broadway, for example, or any television shows
Yeah.
that's weird. That's weird. That's stalky behavior. It's no different, really, if you think about it. If you break it down,
Yeah, I
it's
think
like,
it's like normalized within like the fandom of it. Like Comic-Con, it's normal to the people who go to
mm,
Comic-Con and understand it. And now they have Broadway Con. And before the pandemic, I used to work as a concierge in hotels. And one of the hotels I worked at was the Hilton, New York. And I was there one year for when they did Broadway Con, and I saw some like really great costumes. Like
really?
there was somebody dressed up as King Kong, and they
Wow.
had two handlers on the side, and it was the
Okay.
most brilliant costume I've ever seen.
Inventive.
Yeah.
Inventive. See? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't shoot you can't be down on or shoot the fandoms.
Yeah.
It's because especially Broadway, they need them more than ever because I know that across the board ticket sales aren't as what they once were pre-COVID and stuff. So I think I think Broadway's on a bit of a struggle bus at the moment. But
Well, I think it's also, you know, I've mentioned this a couple of times on the pod, but I've always been very curious. And during the pandemic, I did virtual play readings and I would talk to all these different actors about it. And, one of the topics I would bring up would be theater pricing when we come back from the pandemic
mhm.
and what
Yeah,
that would be like.
yeah, yeah.
And, there are some shows now that are just so expensive still. People are going crazy over the pricing of like cabaret, you
It's
know,
I mean,
the
and
thing.
also,
Yeah.
what's the one? Is it Merrily? That's what $600 a month. Yeah, I mean, listen, I get that. Harry Potter's in it, Daniel Radcliffe.
Mhm.
And it's a premium sort of box officey kind of, but it's kind of it's obscene, isn't it? Really, it is. It's
Yeah.
obscene. I mean, especially with the way post pandemic, the pricing of everything
Mhm.
has astronomically changed. Like cost of living. you
Yeah.
know, people's builds, people's, not that we want to go down the whole political route, but like, in terms of like it, just cost of living in general has
Yeah.
escalated massively,
Yeah.
whereas their basic pay levels have not. So the
Yeah.
pay's the same, but the cost of living is way higher. So
Oh
then to
no,
expect,
I
yeah,
agree.
to then expect people to go and spend these astronomical prices at
Mhm.
ticket sales, and I get why, and I understand that they want to, but it's just not sustainable. It isn't.
Yeah. I think
Um,
the last few shows that I saw was either uh, a comp ticket that somebody invited me to go see,
right.
or I was lucky enough to win the lottery to see,
Right,
you
right.
know?
And I know the lottery is a great thing. People love their
Yeah.
lottery and the people will do it, but it shouldn't just be like, oh, I have to win the lottery to go and see a show.
Yeah.
There needs to be more. And we talk, and it's what's interesting is like as well going. I remember like some of the talks in Moulin Rouge, and with these diversity meetings that we would have, and HR meetings and about like change and like Black Lives Matter movements which was all fantastic stuff. And you think this is brilliant. And then you look out into the audience and you go, well, it's just a sea of white people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so we're changing on stage, but the ticket prices are off the charts. And I've got a sea of white people out there. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because this doesn't make sense. Where's the where's the diversity in the audience? What are we doing about that? And I know they're making movements to try and change that by bringing in new shows which are culturally different and diverse, and hit different audience target, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately the ticket pricing is still
Yeah.
an issue. It's a big red flag because it's not getting cheaper. It certainly ain't getting cheaper. So I don't know. I don't know what they do about that. And I know there are these kind of initiatives where they try and encourage and do certain things to try and get people in, but I just don't think it's enough. Don't think it's enough. And I know that firsthand from just seeing, I'd sit in the box because the Duke had prime spot. I'd sit in
Mhm.
that box every night
Yeah.
and I'd look out and I would look out and I'd look at the audience because I could, and it's just, I'd have a lot of time in there. Um, and I'd see, saw what I saw, and it was just very interesting. It's very telling. It's very
Yeah.
telling about each show and what's going on. Um, but anyway, but going back to the question you asked me before, do I think um I'm one of those people where people? No, I'm not. I don't feel. I've never felt like that. I'm just very, very. I just like doing my bit, if you know what I mean, and my work. And if people like that, then great. I'm very appreciative of people's, time and comments, but I don't feel like I ever sort of see myself as like this kind of to be fanned over.
Yeah.
It's not what I kind of even do it for, to be honest.
Well, I did like fan over your costume in Moulin Rouge before we
Well,
started.
yeah.
I had a very strong reaction to it. I just love that costume so much. I just think it's like so sexy, that costume.
Thank you. Because I remember I had a heart attack when I first saw it. I was like, this is what I'm gonna wear. Are you serious? But it was I mean, they were beautiful. The coats were beautiful. They were so nicely made. Um, the lilac. I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling about that. I'm
No,
still
I'm
not
just
convinced.
talking about like the entry, like the
Oh, you're
sheer.
talking about the sheet. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
That's
talking about the lilac costume. I'm
the
talking
lilac.
about the Duke. You first see him in that sheer top and that vest with like, I want to wear that
No,
costume.
that was a good costume with
Like
the
a
top
heel
hat.
boot.
The
Oof.
top hat. Yeah, yeah. It was nice. It was a nice costume. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
That I'm talking about that costume, not the other ones. Like, I don't
Oh
care.
yeah. You don't want the lilac. You're not feeling that.
I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. The lilac. Yeah, I can.
I
I
honestly
can.
forgot about that costume until you mentioned it.
See, you can leave the lilac. We can leave the lilac alone. It's good.
Yeah.
But it fits the scene. It's fine.
I
It's
think
fine.
so. The Champs-Élysées, which is now
Yeah,
like a complete tourist attraction. Last I
it
was in
is.
Paris.
It is.
So let's backtrack a little bit. So you started your career pretty much like doing Les Miserables, if right or no?
No, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
my first job out of college. I left college early actually. To
Oh.
was Les Mis. Yeah, I kind of we were in a situation where the current resident director at Les Miserables in the West End was directing one of our theatre productions, our third year production of Closer Than Ever, and Ken Caswell, give him a shout out because I love him. He's someone who I would class as a mentor. I thought he was a wonderful human being. Still love him to pieces. Um, he said to all four of us, because it's a four-hander, the show. If you haven't seen the show, it's a wonderful show. It's great fun. Love doing it. And he said, I want you all to come in and audition for Les Mis as experience. And I think it was the first show of the our third year. So we still had the rest of the year to go. Three more shows I think we had to do in that time. Because third year is basically showcases and then et cetera, et cetera. So he said, come and audition for Les Mis. So we did, just thinking it would be experience.
Yeah.
And anyway, I ended up getting, they wanted me to do it. So that created obviously a hornet's nest at the school because they were like, well, we want you to finish your training and we need you here. And I was like, well, my training is to put me into the professional world. You have succeeded in that. Um, can I say no to this? I don't know. It was a very difficult decision, actually. And then it kind of got a little bit ugly at times. And they're like, well, you won't get your degree and blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
It's so fascinating to hear that because I feel like when I interviewed somebody else, like something similar happened.
yeah, because I get it because they want, and I get, but then ultimately, like it reflects well on them in it anyway because they're doing their job to the highest degree in a sense. If you like, if someone's leaving their school to go and do arguably one of the best shows that's ever been made, then you're doing your job correctly. So, but I did understand it. I part of me as well kind of wishes I could have finished my time there because once you're in the profession, you're in the profession, and there are still lots of things to be learned at school as well and growth to be had. Um, but I still got to finish I did my showcase and all the rest of it, and I ended up getting my degree. But that Les Mis was my first job, and if it's interesting because I as much as I loved it, I also wasn't happy doing it because there was the at that time, since then, Cameron has Macintosh. This is who obviously is Mr. Les Mis. Um, this cleans it up massively. But back then, it was in a sort of stagnant kind of place.
Mhm.
So I went into a show which was very stagnant and very um um people have been in it for a long time.
Mhm.
It was just in a very weird place.
Yeah.
And to go into that from like going out bushy tailed from a drama school and being, hey, I'm here. Oh shit, what is this? That's what it kind of felt like. It kind of felt like the rug got pulled out from under me, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for
Mhm.
at all. Um, and it became very dark and it became very unpleasant. My experience in the first time I was in Les Mis. And luckily, Trevor Nunn came and saved me and took me to the National um, to do South Pacific.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was very great. I was very grateful because I left early from Les Mis as well. They actually released me because Trevor obviously is Mr. Les Mis as well because it's his show, but along with John Caird. And um, he said, I want to pull Tam out, and they did. They let me go, and I was very grateful about that because I was having a bit of a torrid time. I wasn't enjoying I mean, there were some lovely people there, and obviously I've since been back, and it's one of my favorite shows. And the next time I went back, it's probably one of the best, arguably one of the top five experiences of my life. So, but at that time, I remember it just didn't make sense to me. I was very sad around that time because it just didn't do what I thought it was going to do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, then you got to perform in South Pacific with podcast alum Lauren Kennedy at the
I
National
did.
Center.
Yes,
So, look at that. It worked.
exactly.
And then you went to Regent Park and did a bunch of Shakespeare.
Yeah, did
And
that.
then, cut to many years later, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Love Never Dies.
Yes, I did
Literally
that.
just like zooming through your resume.
No, it's
So,
fine.
how did Love Never Dies come into your life?
Um, that was interesting, an interesting time as well because being very personal, it was around a time when I had to sort of step away or I had to move back from London. So I had to sell my place in London and move back to home because my dad was very poorly, very sick. And so I kind of had to be home with him and help. And so my kind of career took a sort of little bit of a mini hiatus. And to the point where like almost like I felt like I might have to give it a, knock it on the head and get a job and be home, be in Hastings and be around him and stuff. And then uh not that I want to take this podcast to a dark place, but a sequence of events happened and my dad sadly passed. And then I kind of was in limbo. I kind of hadn't done anything for a little while. Um, I was kind of disillusioned with everything. Um, and then I got my agents at the time said, we have an audition for you for Love Never Dies. And I was like, okay. And I went in and I met the team and Jack O'Brien and all these amazing people and Andrew and everyone. And at that time, it was Andrew was being Andrew was like, we're going to open this in 6 different destinations at the same time, or sequentially at least. There was this, and we would love for you to be one of the Phantoms. And obviously, that's not realistic. Andrew being Andrew.
Mhm.
So Jack said to me, "Listen, you, uh, we love you and want you on this show, but realistically, it's just going to be the UK first, and then it's going to go elsewhere." And obviously they had someone on board for the UK already, so it was a case of like, okay, well, do you want to be part of it? And I was like, so then it kind of came a place of like, you would be an understudy, and I hadn't done anything for a while, and I was like, okay, well, I need to get back on the horse and get my feet wet. So it went from being like this opportunity of being a lead of a new show to being an understudy of a show, still a new show. But because of like my situation and what happened, I was, not, I just kind of felt like I needed to do it. I needed to get back on the horse, so to speak. So I did. And obviously it went very well. And well, I say it went very well. The show wasn't very well received, but my time on it gave me massive confidence. And I kind of found my sort of mojo a little bit. So then I became an alternate on it, and then after I think it was only when I did that, then I felt like, okay, I know what I'm meant to be doing. This is kind of feels right what I'm doing. I kind of feel like I belong. Because before then, I always felt like I was a bit of a charlatan and a bit like, oh, you know what you're doing. You were kind of this is kind of you're winging this.
Mhm.
It was only when I kind of like got through that, and especially with Jack, bro, Brian, again, another shout out, another glorious person. Um, he kind of instilled in me something which I'd never had. I mean, I spoke about Ken Caswell before. There were these significant people in my life who I would just dot. Trevor Nunn's another one, Philip Peter Gill, the RSC, but that's later. Um, um, uh, they just kind of have like this little, they stay with you. And at that time, Jack stayed with me and he gave me sort of this kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like belief and strength. Um, which then kind of led me to come over here. You know what I mean? Kind of eventually I did because he kind of gave me that thought about that. He kind of thought open your eyes a bit. It kind of opened my eyes, I think.
Mhm. So if I'm correct with saying you didn't really think about the possibility of New York until.
Never. No, like, do you know, it's for a West End performer to think, oh, I'm going to perform on Broadway. It's like you win the lottery. It's not,
Mhm.
it doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't. Because like there are so many things in place where you have to hit criteria or, like the equity exchange, or I don't know how it is now. It's different now, but back then it was way harder. You had
Mhm.
to be, for them to come and pick you and take you over there to open a show. I mean, Broadway's like the pinnacle of musical theater, or you know. So in order for you to be that person that they choose, I kind of highly doubt they're going to come to the West End and find. I mean, there are extraordinary people in the West. Don't get me wrong, but why would they come over here when they have a pool of talent in a much larger country and a much larger sort of area? It's nonsensical in a sense. Um, so to think you would be on Broadway is kind of like these kind of aspirations and dreams that everyone would have. I didn't have them because I didn't really understand it. As I said to you, it was only when I met Jack I kind of thought about it, things kind of changed and evolved massively.
Mhm.
But pre that, I was like, no, what's Broadway? I'm never going to be there. I'll go and watch a show there maybe, but like, I would never be on it. I didn't think I could ever even be possible.
Well, before the not receiving of like not received well of Love Never Dies, was there talk? I mean, I'm sure there was talk of it coming to Broadway. Were you in one of their phantoms that they possibly thought to bring over?
Um, I, I, I mean, that came later. I think what the idea probably would have been, they would have opened it over here, and then they would have wanted me to stay in London, or there were. I think Australia was another shout, which they eventually did do.
And
There was an Asian production that they wanted to do. There was a European production they wanted to do. I knew they won. I was on their list, but who knows? I don't know. In all honesty, it was the 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 idea was for me to, before it closed, was to take over in London.
Mhm.
That's what they wanted me to do, but then obviously the ticket sales and everything didn't allow that. So it was set up for me to continue and take over the role. That was the idea, but then that never materialized because obviously the show closed. So I think I was, and then because it didn't do very well at all, America wasn't interested in it at all, as far as I was aware. Andrew really wanted it to come here, but it still hasn't been here. So I think the the show didn't land as well as they kind of would have hoped.
Yeah. So, all right, now it's time to talk about Rebecca.
Go on then.
All right, let's talk about Rebecca. So I used to do merch at Broadway theaters, and
Hmm.
apparently the company that I worked for was supposed to have Rebecca. So, like, I think somebody I used to work with may or may not have some sort of like Rebecca t-shirt or something that never went to fruition. So you were talking about having America or come to New York be this new idea that's popped into your head. So how did Rebecca come into your life?
So I was doing chess in Toronto at the time,
Mhm.
and that was through a UK production. So it was a UK production that went to Toronto to do chess, just so I'm clear for everyone that's listening. Which was amazing, and I had a wonderful time doing that. I love that role, and I would love to do that role again. It was, brilliant.
I will say that chess has been rumored to be coming to Broadway.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, I don't know. I know they keep doing rewrites and rewriting and rewriting. The music is just is amazing and wants needs to be heard, but ultimately, it just I don't know. I don't know how you can fix it. It's about chess, for Christ's sake. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you going to fix? It's a difficult piece. With the whole Cold War aspect of it, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's ever gonna really land the way they wanted it to. Musically, it's fantastic. The characters in it are really interesting, but the themes and what's going on, I don't know. I don't know if people really want to see that, do they? I don't know. Maybe they do.
And then who's gonna
Nostalgia, maybe a
just
bit
put you
nostalgia.
in there?
I'd love to do it.
Maybe
I would.
Hannah Waddingham will come
Yeah,
over.
she can come and do it, and
Yeah,
maybe Brett can be, my sidekick or
yeah.
something.
Who else can we add in there? Who
Hmm.
else do we want to cast? Why don't you cast your dream production of Chess starring you?
Oh
Like,
my
who
God.
else would
No,
you want in it?
I couldn't do it. I don't know enough people.
Because I know like Jessica Voss just did it at the Muni and Samantha Barks has done it. Uh,
Um, Christ, I don't even know. Because obviously the American is, I'd want to play the Russian, obviously. The American's such a hard role. That vocally is such a hard role.
I will admit
Um,
I'm very good at casting, but I don't know chess well enough to actually help you with this casting.
and then the girls, I mean, you could cast anybody. I'd want it to be, I'd want it to be, um, and then the Arbiter as well. You think who could play the Arbiter? That's such a cool role as well. It's weird and almost like narratory. It's kind of I don't know. Do you know what? I can't even cast it. I can't because because I would say something now and then I'll think of someone else in 5 minutes and I'll be like, damn it.
You know,
And
I
then I'll have
think
to
about it
recast.
and then just DM me because now
I
I'm gonna
will.
think about it.
I will.
Yeah.
Because if I say it now, I'm gonna regret it. I'm gonna say someone and then I'm gonna be like, then I'm gonna do them a disservice.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna think of someone else, and I'll be like, no, that person's better, or
What
not
about
better, but
Ricky Rojas? You can throw
he's
him
not
in.
doing it. No, no,
Okay.
no. There's nothing. He could play. He'd be a. He'd be a. I mean, he
Yeah.
could sing. He could sing it. Oh, of course he could. He'd be an interesting American. I don't know. I'd
Mhm.
like. I'd. He'd be a great arbiter as well.
Yeah.
He would.
That's why I threw it in there. Again, I don't know the show that well, but you mentioned the
He'd probably
arbiter.
want to be one. He'd probably want to be one of the girls. Probably. That's what he'd want to do.
Listen, it's 2023. Do whatever you want. Soon
But
to
he
be
would. So,
2024.
and, no, he doesn't get to be in this. He doesn't. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So
No, we can find someone else.
he's out.
Um, we'll think of. I know. We'll come back to this. We'll
Yeah.
come back to this.
I don't want you to be
So,
crazy about this the whole. I will say I figured out the Laura Linney play. It's Time Stand Still, and I feel better that it popped
oh,
into
okay, good
my head.
job. Good
Yeah,
job.
thank you. House.
So chess, I was doing chess in Toronto,
Mhm.
and then I got a call to say they're doing Rebecca on Broadway. One of the producers saw you in Toronto and wants you to go in for it. I was like, fine, amazing. It was the first Broadway audition, so I had to get a flight. I learned all the material. I remember working with the guys in Toronto and prepping everything. It was very wordy stuff, very interesting material. And I prepped everything, got on a flight, flew into New York, um, did my audition, met the team, Michael Blakemore and everything, and who's another amazing person. Um, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, that's I've done my bit. I was just very pleased that my I was Tara Rubin as well, and I remember I remember thinking, okay, I think they went as well as it could have could have gone for me. So I was pretty pleased. Was it Tara Rubin or was it Jay Binder? I can't remember. It's one or the other. It might have been Jay actually. Love Jay. Bless him. God rest his soul. I love him. I miss him. Good guy. Um, I think it was Jay actually. And then I get the call to say, they want me to do it. I was like, oh shit. I wasn't expecting that. Um, so it kind of then became a bit of a whirlwind. So I had to then finish chess, flew back to London, packed up my apartment, got everything ready to go. Marquee was up, and I'm in my flat just finishing off getting the last few pieces out, and I get a phone call from my agent to say it's being postponed. So what do you mean postponed? And they said, well, something's not quite right, and blah blah blah. And they were like, they're gonna put a little bit of a hiatus on it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What does that mean? So that just can you hang on? I was like, well, uh, I guess I've got no choice. Then literally the next day, I get a call from Les Mis to say they want to see you for Cameron wants to see you come in for Javert. Literally I promise you, it was the next day. So I was like, okay, this is the universe kind of doing some things. You have to kind of trust in something. So I went in for that, and I ended up getting Javert. And obviously Rebecca was still in the background, but they hadn't got their kind of shit together, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I had said, listen, I need a job right now. I want to work. And this is a show that in a a part that I'm very interested in. So I wanted to do it. So when I did it, and it's one of the best decisions of my life, I think.
Yeah, you won some Broadway.com awards. Broadway World,
Yeah, for what it's worth, people,
another thing.
yeah, they are what they are, and it's not, it wasn't about. It was more about like again, it was one of those moments where I kind of felt like because I had that relationship with the show before, which wasn't very good. So to go back and I had like
Mhm.
the best time, and I loved doing that role. I loved it. I felt like it fit me really well. Um, it's it just it was so I found it so cathartic to die every night. It was so interesting. That kind of whole process of to be that troubled soul and play that day in day out. It was I kind of felt like music to me. It was I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, it's one of those shows which, again, I know they don't do it everywhere right now, but it's still going in certain places and there's newer version. But to me, it sticks with me because again, it's one of those ones which has left its mark on my life for sure.
Yeah. So going into it a second time, did it feel as, I guess, stagnant, the production, as
Not
it
at
was?
all, not at
Yeah.
all. Because like after that, I know that Cameron had been like shaking the tree, so to speak. And and I went into it, and the cast was amazing. And I knew that like when you saw the cast list and people that were coming in, there were really really talented people coming in through the door all the time, and even like young energy to it. It was the way even the people that were looking after the show were had an energy about it. It was just different. Like new musical to musical supervisor Alfonso, who was I love, who's amazing. This young Spanish um kid back then he was. Now he like runs most of Cameron's stuff. He's like he was, but back then we had a howl of a time.
Mhm.
Working with Cameron Blakely, and I was shared a dressing room with Cameron, who's an extraordinary performer who's been around the block and been in it for a little while, but like, it was it was like a good melting pot of difference. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I felt like before it was just a bit sour.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was very different. Very, very different.
Yeah. So I guess this would be kind of like a common question for whomever, but you've you're playing this iconic role, Javert, that has been played by many, 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 many other
Yeah.
people around the world, in the UK, what have you. How do you make it your own?
It's interesting because like and that's a question for everything when because
Especially if
there's
you
this
were coming in as a replacement.
there's this obsession with everybody when they go and see a show to compare and contrast, right? And it drives me crazy a little bit because um and I get it, but ultimately it's not it should never really be about that. It's not about a comparison. It's like you understand the role, and everybody is unique in their own right. Whatever anyone brings to the table and everyone's showing on that given performance that you go to see is their truth. It's their version, so to speak.
Hmm.
To then go and compare it to something else, to me, just kind of feels a little bit disrespectful in a sense. Um, because they're not trying to compete with somebody else. They're just doing their job, and they're doing their incarnation or version of what the role means to them. And to me, that's way more interesting. So to me, I obviously you have to respect everybody that's been before you, and there've been some like ridiculous people that have played that role. So for me to go into that role and then go, oh, I need to be as good as Philip Quast is just it's nonsensical. I'm like, it's never going to happen. So I'm nothing like Philip. And I've
Hmm.
worked with Philip very, as you know, from South Pacific. He's about 8 foot tall and massive. And
Hmm.
I'm like barely 6 foot and um not like that at all. It's just very so you have to go into things and think about, okay, what does the character mean to me? What do I want to do with it? How do I obviously you have to respect the writing and what the authors, so to speak, want. the creative team want you to do, but then you have to put your own, it's about your own personality and your own almost stink on it. Do you know what I mean? So I never sort of, I try not to worry myself with what someone else did with it, because you can never win, because
Yeah.
somebody is always going to be ready to there. They're all there with their little keyboards ready as soon as you've done your first show, and they're bashing out their little keyboards saying, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do that on that note. And they're so specific with it as well, to the point of like they could say the way you sang one phrase is not like how Norm Lewis did it, or Terrence Mann did it, or I'm like, really? That's How about just enjoy the show and watch the show?
Yeah.
Why do you need to go into it and like worry about comparing it to X and Y? It's just to me, it's such a like a an exhausting process. It must be an exhausting process for somebody to sit there and go, I'm comparing this automatically as they sit down and I'm starting to compare.
Mhm.
Because then to me, you're not really watching the show. You're just watching someone's performance and going, well, they're doing this instead of doing that. You're
Yeah.
not really invested in it.
Yeah.
I get that people have their favorites, or I prefer that person because they resonated with me more, or emotionally I felt like they connected with me. I'm fine. But to sit there and like nitpick and be like, it's just like, come on, really? Really? That's what you want to do?
Yeah. To lighten the mood, because you got very fired up there, I just can't wait for everyone's feelings when you play Roy Kent in the musical Ted Lasso.
Exactly.
It's,
They're gonna be like, well, he's nothing. Well, they're gonna be like, well, he's nothing like Roy. And we're like, actually, Roy is me.
he didn't grunt enough when he
Exactly.
sang.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting too because depending on the show, like I've gone back to Moulin Rouge to see like certain performers in it, and I'm not comparing them to being like they were better. I just go because I want to see their interpretation of the role.
Right.
Roles are different, and I've gone to see Waitress with a couple of different Jennas, and I've seen, different things. But, sometimes, at least for me, having seen shows for over years, not to age myself, like I saw the revival of Spamalot.
Hmm.
And I saw the original production many times, and I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, that's different from the original and blah, blah, blah. And I like had to say to myself, like, stop comparing. Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's a totally different interpretation. It's a fun ass show. And I was like, I literally said to myself, I'm like, why am I comparing this? Like, there's no need to do that. And I think it's just a subconscious thing that happened. But I agree and I understand because there's so many different ways to interpret roles, and especially something that's ongoing and it means a lot to people. But you bring in somebody new and it's their interpretation of it.
Well, people, the thing is, and like, not that I want to, and here, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the fandoms and the
Mhm.
fanites and all the rest of it. They have like, to them, it becomes more like how their connection with somebody. So if they see an original person or something, they have a connection with them and they see them a significant amount of times. For then someone else to come in and try and take over that, it's almost like an affront, or it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it becomes offensive to them that they're not that person anymore.
Mhm.
And I've kind of like, what I ask of people is just to go in with an open mind and don't try not to do that, because all it's going to do is just make you annoyed.
Yeah.
Don't go and see that show then. Go and see something else.
Hmm.
Go and invest your money and your hard-earned time into a different show and support them,
Yeah.
and maybe find some new connections. Because if you are that connected to a specific performer and
Mhm.
nobody else, you know, it, it's 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 a fine line. There is a fine line which I sometimes think gets like muddied too easily,
Yeah.
and it's if you can just be open and if you love the show, then enjoy the show. But if
Yeah.
you're going to nitpick and sit there and start going, uh, you know, compare and contrast and write these like blogs and all the rest, then come on, it's like then you're not really invested in the show. You're being, I don't know what the word is, but I feel like there's better use of people's time. And I understand that people have like strong emotional and connections to specific performers in specific roles. That's totally fine. You know, when they remake a movie, people say, "Oh God, they didn't do this for." You can say the product. You know, again, we go like, "Well, that new remake of X and Y, well, that didn't really land. Why didn't it really land?" Well, I didn't think like, well, because at the time when you perhaps at the time when you watch that movie, it has more nostalgia feeling for you. It's something, it meant something different to you then. So a
Right.
remake of it is never going to be as profound to you as it was when it was
Mhm.
originally made. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to compare it is kind of pointless, I think. You just
Yeah.
kind of have to go into it and sort of be open-minded and appreciative, and because everyone's working their ass off.
Hmm.
Nobody's like, oh, I really want to be different and disappoint you right now. No one's going in there to do that.
Yeah.
And yes, we all have our like necessarily like inverted commas favorites, or we prefer certain things, but it's to get like in a state about it, like as I know some people do. It's just, to me, just is not it just doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah. Watch a football match, have beer, call it a day.
Exactly. When if you relate it back to sports, you know, there are times when like your team sucks, but
Hmm.
you hope the next time you go back, you know, I don't know.
My family are New York Jets fans. I get it.
Oh, that's a bad choice.
My
That's a
sister
bad
now has
choice.
the season tickets. I get it. I enjoy going to a sporting event. I don't follow sports, but there you go.
Well, they're fun. They're fun. If you, to go to something is fun. To watch it on TV is very different. It's very
Yeah.
different.
I will say the last time I was at MetLife Stadium was to see Coldplay. It wasn't to see
Oh
the.
yeah, and MetLife's great. I love Met. We're around the corner from MetLife, so I'm very
Oh,
close to
nice.
MetLife.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just tell everybody exactly where you live. I
no,
live
it's
at.
fine. I literally live down the road from MetLife. Turn left, right, and then left again, and you're at my. No, I'm kidding.
I'll tell you what, if
Um,
I ever get stranded at MetLife Stadium like I did 6 years ago, I might DM you and be like, hey, this car canceled on me.
this
Pick
car
me.
canceled on me. Come and pick me up.
Yeah.
Come and pick me up right now. That's
Yeah.
what we say.
No,
Yeah.
that literally happened to me. I hired a car service to pick me up from MetLife Stadium. And while I was at the concert, they called to cancel on me.
Oh, nice.
So I
And
was like in a panic afterward,
classy.
like try to figure out how to get home. Luckily I did, but that was fun. But
Well,
now that
next time you can call me. No, you can call me. You know.
I be like, Tam, can I sleep over? Thanks.
Yeah, I live in New Jersey, everyone, just so you know. You
Yeah.
know,
You guys
we
are,
made that call. It's like
yeah.
everyone's like, "You live in Jersey?" Oh.
There are so many Broadway performer or theater performers who live in New Jersey.
Well, the person who made me think about New Jersey is called Christine Ebersol. She's a good friend. And she's like, "You need to come out here." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't want to go to Jersey. Are you kidding?" It's like when everyone used to have this thing about going moving to Brooklyn from Manhattan.
Oh,
It's the
I
same
gave
thing.
my
And now
friends
it's
so
like,
much shit about that.
yeah,
But
it's the same thing. It's no different. It's just evolved and then became Jersey, and everyone moved to Jersey, and it was like, oh, Jersey, the armpit of America. I'm like, well, you know, I can see why you would say that in certain places, but not all of it. But yeah, you know, and then Christine's like, you need to come out here, come see my place. So we did. And I was like, oh shit, I love it. Kind of love
be
this
like, move in
area.
with me. It's fine. Just joking.
Yeah, she's like, I would. Fucking her house is massive. Are you kidding? She has a tree house. She has this massive tree house in her backyard, which her husband built.
She's
It's
Christine
ins
Eberthal.
I'm like, this tree. We went in the treehouse. We all had tea in the tree. It was amazing. We had the best time.
I
Um,
just remember when I was a kid, my dad always used to take us to see shows, and we were going backstage of Scarlet Pimpernel, and it was
oh,
like back there, like at the Marquee Theater, you like enter the stage door, and I think at the time you had to go up in an elevator. And I remember seeing her and being like, "That's the mom from Richie Rich." Like that's how I knew her.
Richie Rich,
She was the mom in
Richie
Richie
Rich.
Rich.
Listen, I love Christine. Christine is like one of those people. If you know Christine,
Mhm.
yeah, she's another person who is again is one of my faves. I love her. I adore that woman. She's so fun. She's
Yeah.
so crazy fun. It's yeah.
You moved out to New Jersey because of her.
I
Clearly,
did. Well, we did because she
yeah.
said come out, and we did, and I remember when we first came out, and New Jersey kind of played a trick on us when we came out. To be fair, we were house hunting, and it was like it was around this sort of time. It was a little bit, maybe November, and it was snow. It was all pretty, and it was very like the trees. And it was like, oh wow, this is magic. It was so magical when we came out. So I think it kind of but where we are is very nice. It is, I wouldn't say it's as magical as that picturesque kind of setting when we first came out, but kind of like, a little trip to Beacon, would be like upstate New York, and you go to Hudson or whatever, and you'd be like, the snow's falling, it's so picturesque and beautiful. And yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of hoodwinked us a little bit, but it is nice out here. It's
Yeah.
just I would, would I necessarily choose it again? I don't know, maybe not.
Listen, give it a couple more years. You can always move to like Long Island. I always find it interesting. Everybody moves to New Jersey, but like never Long Island. It's like, is it more expensive out there? It probably is, depending
I
on where.
don't know if it is, I don't know if it is per se, but it's just the train line sucks to get out that way. You know what I mean? It's so bad. It's like,
Long
and
Island?
yeah, it sucks.
I'm from Long Island, so I don't depends on which train, I guess.
It's from I just find whereabouts are you? Where do you get in from?
Well, I grew
Uh,
up on the South Shore, but I would usually go to my dad's and he's on the North Shore, so it would be like the Westbury train, but he moved.
Yeah, into Penn, right? Yeah.
Yeah, from Penn, but now you can actually take the train from Grand Central.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
but I live on
fancy.
the west side, so it's easier for me to go down to Penn. It's like a 20+ minute walk to get down there for me.
I was talking to my agency the other day, and they were talking about apparently the new uh boat service which goes from Amboy. Is it Amboy? They've got a new ferry or something, a new ship that goes straight into town. Yeah, so people are going to be going down there soon. So there's a new ferry service which goes, I think it takes about 50 minutes, 45 minutes from
From
I think it's
Amboy,
I think it's Amboy, yeah, from around
I
there.
have is that on Long? I've never heard
Yeah,
of
it's like yeah, yes, we're like right sort of just on the this end of it, the New York end of it, Manhattan end of it. Is it Amboy? I'm pretty sure it's Amboy. I'm pretty sure it is. And yeah, they've got a ferry service now, which is going to take you straight into the city. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
going to be the next thing, I think, where people will probably go.
I'm in Manhattan for now, so we'll see what
And
happens.
Manhattan's cool. We know about Manhattan is.
Yeah, we're here, we're living it. You've worked in it. You're not there now,
I'm
but
not there right now.
yeah,
No, I miss it sometimes because I mean, I used to live on Long Island City as well, which I loved.
my sister lives out there.
I love it.
Yeah,
Great. It's
she's in one of the
awesome.
fancy
Great.
buildings right on the
Great. Yeah,
waterfront.
that's what we were, right by the Pepsi sign. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah, she's a little bit further south of the Pepsi sign.
yeah, we were in the Pepsi sign, like corner lot, beautiful view,
Mhm.
amazing. Had a great time there. Um, and then we're Upper West Side. I've been to like a few places, mostly Upper West Side actually. I've lived in about five or six locations on the Upper West Side,
Oh, wow.
and then
I
Long
love
Island
the Upper
City was
West
cool.
Side.
Yeah,
I'm
it's amazing.
gonna take a nice walk up there tomorrow.
And then West Village, lived down there as well for a bit, and then moved out to the armpit of America, as you do.
Well, my friend got married in Bar Harbor, Maine a couple of years ago, and I say
Uh,
that's like the ass pit of America to like just get to travel wise. So I didn't end up going because it just would have been too much money for me to travel by myself. But it was like you either had to like go to Boston and then from Boston like take the bus or the plane to get to like Bar Harbor or like take a bus and like transfer to another bus to take. And I was like, I can't. I'm like,
yeah,
this
I
is
gotta
the
do it.
hardest place to
Just
get.
just just thinking about it made your body hurt. So you were like,
Yeah,
I'm
well, I
good.
was supposed to go with someone and we were going to drive up, and like a week before the wedding, they canceled on me. So I'm like, fuck you. And now I can't go to this wedding because like I just couldn't afford it by myself. And just to
Fair
like
point.
travel there was
No,
insane.
totally valid. Totally fair.
Yeah.
You should,
She's forgiven me though. She's forgiven me.
good.
So yes. So moving back to you and your career.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're going to City of Angels now at the Dunmore Warehouse.
Okay.
That was like a pretty big revival. How was that for you?
That was that was another one of my top five gigs. We had the best time. That was a magical experience. It really was. It was an elite cast and from the UK. The production team, everyone was amazing. To work at the Don Mar, which is I mean, you, you don't, it's not one of those places where you go to like earn money, but it's like one of those places where you go to hopefully improve your career. And it was fantastic. It was a phenomenal experience. We had a brilliant time. Everyone was at the top of their game, I felt. And you know, to sing that score and to be play that role, which I know that, you know, it's one of those kind of shows where everyone wants to be those parts because they're such good roles. Um, you know, girls and boys, but you know, both part, everything in that show is just brilliant. I mean, it's a little dated and it needed a bit of work, and it probably, you know, I think that's probably why one of the reasons why it's not reared its head again over here. But I'm pretty sure it'll be here very soon. I'm pretty sure that I'm sure Encores has been sniffing around it for a while,
I think you've done
um,
productions with them. Why not
but
do
it,
it?
no, I mean, in a heartbeat I do that. But it's just it was a brilliant experience to work at the Del Mar is a wonderful experience,
Yeah.
and I was very very grateful to have that team and those actors around me, so to speak. Um, you know, we won the Olivier for best show, and it was great. It was really great.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it other than it was probably really boring. It was like, okay, it was great. What else? It was
Right, like,
great.
I honestly like we had to talk about Doctor Zhivago next because I'm going in order, but I
Hmm.
really like I'm so because I saw it on Broadway and I was explaining certain things that happened in the show to my friend and I stopped and I said to myself, this is something like out of a movie that you hear or see somebody explaining what happens and you're like, what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I
Flying
mean,
Over Sunset. What was
it was a little flying over sunset moment. Yeah, for those
yeah.
of you who don't know what flying over sunset is, I'm sure you're going to find out.
So you did the readings of that in 2015 and 2016.
Yeah,
Cary
yeah,
Grant.
yeah. It was that was something which was very hard because obviously I was doing Moulin Rouge, so I wasn't able to continue that journey. So I had to make a choice.
Mhm.
Sadly, I had to because I did all of the development of that show, and I know it went to Lincoln Center, which I haven't worked at as well, which I'm kind of bummed about. Um, and I love the team. I love James and Lapine, and I love Michael Corey's basically my uncle. Real, and I mean that really. Um, so to not be able to see that project fully through was very hard. Um, but I was, contracted, and I was in a show. So it was how it was. Doctor Zhivago, yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
now let's talk about Dr. Zhivago. I'm sorry, I was so curious about Flying Over Sunset when I saw that you did because again, when
Did
I
you see
saw it,
it? Did you see it?
yeah, like I said, I was explaining to my friends, like there was a moment in the play, in the musical, where she's literally like looking in a field of bushes for her mother's leg
Yeah,
that was like
yeah.
knocked off in a car crash. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm just describing that to you because that's such an odd thing to say that happens in a musical. And I think there was like a song where Cary Grant was like singing that he was a penis or a rocket or something.
Yeah, penis rocket ship. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's I'm actually amazed that made it in because I wasn't sure if it would, but it did. Um, I am a giant penis rocket ship. Yeah. Um, I remember singing that, working that. It was that was hard. Um,
Yeah, let's talk about that song, Tam. I'm just
yeah, it's kind the that production was. I mean, it's it's James. It's like he's um wacky. If you know him, it's like wacky and it's very LSD based, and it's off the walls, which I kind of liked. That's what I kind of liked about it. It wasn't very typical musical theater.
yeah.
He was trying to make tell the story through these characters and make it a bit, you know, different.
Mhm.
But I know again that's another show that didn't particularly land, and it's a difficult, it's a difficult subject matter. What's the show about? It's about LSD. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's about people, these famous people tripping and getting together and basically, I don't know. It's not for everyone, but again, it was another project which I had a great time working on, and I
Mhm.
was very upset that I couldn't finish it, so I'll see it through. But it became very different, obviously, when oh Christ, what's his name took over.
Tony
And
Esmond.
thank you. And Tony took over, and they made it different. They fit Tony differently, and obviously Tony, they had a massive dance number within it, which I obviously didn't do. It was very different. Mine was more uh were different, a big tap number and all the rest of it. So it was, they changed, they made it
Mhm.
fit each person, which is great because it's what you should do. You have to fit each performer.
Mhm.
So, but obviously that was hard to miss out on that, to not to be able to see it through. But obviously going back to Zhivago, what would you like to know about that?
So how did Zhivago? I just like how you say it better than I do. I do have a Doctor Zhivago magnet on my refrigerator.
Good for you.
Thank you. I saw the show and I was like, oh, and then I regretted not getting a magnet. And so my friend found one at the flea market. And it is,
They're cute. Do
yeah,
you know, I actually think the marketing and everything around that show wasn't too bad. I actually think we, it's funny because that's one of the things, like, we said we're off air before we spoke. I said, I've got something I want to talk about. And, I think is it Joe Allen's has the poster up, has the posters of all the flops.
have you gone and taken a photo with it?
I've been there, but like, Uncle Michael Corey is obviously the lyricist. He's like, I am not going in that building. They have my show up in that building. I'm like, I'm not going in there. I'm like, oh, come on,
Just dinner.
we could just have come on, let's just go and have some dinner. Like, I'm not going in that building. So
Yeah.
he's still really angry about it. But yeah, it's interesting to see that poster, which I love that poster. I love that. I love all the uh, I
Artwork.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I love the artwork and I love what they, again,
Of Laura's eyes. It was really,
yeah, it was great.
I was lucky enough to snag a free ticket for that for work. And because that's when I was in my concierge days, and I would email the person who was like in charge of getting all the theater tickets. And I said, I need to know if we are getting tickets to Dr. Zhivago because I need to see the show. And if we are not, I need to buy myself a ticket. And so I ended up getting like sixth row center orchestra, which was great.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm
So
guessing at
let
that time you probably got them easily because there was no one going. So like, as well. So like, I'm not surprised. You know what
Pam,
I mean?
don't be so hard on yourself. But
No,
I
it's true.
feel like the Broadway theater, I feel like is sometimes a very hard theater to fill. So I'm very curious to see now that Here Lies Love has closed, what show is going to go in there.
It's a barn. It's a horrible theater. I
Yeah.
don't mean to be rude, but it is. It's like that is not a theater you should be looking to, unless you have something which is damn well is going to significantly have um a massive audience, then you should have no business being in that theater.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw King Kong in there, and they did pretty well to start off with, and then obviously, that way, it's a really tricky theater to be in. It is because it's huge. It's
Mhm.
huge, huge.
Yeah.
I know that was between that and the Winter Garden where we were supposed to go, and that's a big theater as well. So I'm
Mhm.
not sure that it was
What was in the Winter Garden at the time? I think Mamma Mia probably closed because I worked there a
no, there
lot.
was something else after that. What was after that? It was
There was Rocky and then School of Rock.
that was before then. There was something
Oh.
else in there before then.
Oh, Wolf Hall was in there.
Yeah, I think it was then. Wolf Hall was in
Yeah.
it.
Which
So it was
I
Wolf.
so regret not seeing because I'm such a history
Yeah,
nerd about the
yeah,
Tudors.
yeah. It was Wolf Hall was
And
in there when we were there.
yeah, I was like, oh, my company has merch for that. I'll get a ship there. Never did.
Um,
Yeah. So anyway, Zhivago, Broadway debut. How did Zhivago come into your life?
uh, Doctor Zhivago came into my life. How did it come into my life? I met with I got a call from Des wanted to meet up with me. I think he'd seen me in what did he see me in? Something. I forget what. I think it was again a link to do with Toronto and all the rest of it, and the whole Rebecca thing. Actually, I think it's like a link from like some of the producers and the train of like all these,
Mhm.
it filters down. And Des had seen me in, I think he came to see me in Les Mis. And anyway, we met. I remember we had tea at I forget the name of the hotel in that little courtyard that was been recently done. Well, not recently, but it was done up in the West End, which is a beautiful little area. we had tea there, and he was talking about Zhivago, and he wanted me to do it. And they sent me obviously the stuff, and um, it sort of just became, I don't know, it just sort of became a thing. I don't remember ever having to audition for it or anything like that. It was they wanted me to do it, and then it came, the next phase was they wanted me to come out and basically find Lara, basically. So I said, listen, if you want me to do this, I feel like you need to get us in the room together before you make that decision. Because originally they were like, well, we're going to cast it and we'll let you know. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
I said, don't you think we need to be in the room together? And they're like, oh, yes, yes, of course, of course, of course, of course. I'm like, okay, well, that's should be the first thing you'd be thinking about, is like chemistry. So I remember that I came out and we had these auditions with various ladies for the role, and then it sort of became like, okay, we're really doing this. Do you know what I mean? This is happening. And then the wheels started set in motion, and I was still doing City of Angels at the time. Or I just finished. Had I finished? Was it? No, I hadn't finished. I was just about to finish. And um the because that was rumored to be transferring as well. So I had to make a decision between staying with City, and that
Mhm.
was ugly. That was an ugly situation as well. That wasn't particularly very pleasant. But it was my Broadway debut. It was a lead role in the show, and I think with the City of Angels situation was they were wanting to move it, but they didn't have a theater yet. So I was like, well, I have this here, which is on the table. It's Broadway. It's a new show. It's about me. um, I can't say no. So it was very difficult. And I know I upset a lot of people, and I apologize for that. But that was a very, very difficult situation, because you know how much of a great time I had on City of Angels. But again, ultimately it was the right decision in a sense, because that show didn't transfer then for a lot longer. And then it only lasted about a week, because obviously then COVID happened. So I think I made
Oh my
in
God, it was that production?
yeah, with yeah.
Yeah, with like Theo James and Vanessa.
Yeah. That was the one I was supposed to do.
Wow.
So
It was also
they
like many years. So like,
yeah, it was a while. It was a while.
yeah.
They couldn't get it in. And then when they did get it in, I think it did about 6 performances, and then it closed because
Crazy.
of anyway, so the Zhivago thing sort of happened, and obviously I was excited, and I was scared, and all the things you would be making your Broadway debut was, but I know I
So not
trusted.
only was it your Broadway debut, you're also like leading a cast.
Yeah, and I think I learned a lot on that show. I think going looking back on it, and it, to be a leading man is one thing, but to lead a show is something very different.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's something you can't just sort of, you can have skills within that, you have the traits to be able to do that, which I feel like I do have. But to me, I felt like I was still a little bit raw, and I didn't fully understand it. And and looking back on it, if I'm being completely brutally honest with myself, I felt like I could have handled it better, and I would like to have had another shot at it, in a sense, because I feel like you know uh, the responsibility does lie with you. I know it's a team show and all the rest of it, but when you are the title of the show, there is a responsibility with that. And I was very grateful that they gave me that opportunity, and I think I did a good job. Did I think I do a great job? No, I didn't. Um, but that's to do with learning and lack of experience, and certain situations which I know now I would have handled very differently. Um, I wouldn't say it's immaturity. I just think it's lack of experience and knowledge and understanding of like Broadway and the way things work and all the rest of it. But I still had an amazing experience. I just wish it would, I think it was very brutal the way that show was treated, to be honest. Um, because I don't think it was as bad as the press made it out to be. I think the music is still now, if you listen to the soundtrack, I think it's something that people would be very interested in seeing. Um, the show had its faults, and I feel like it was one of those shows where you have a big epic show, and at that time, you know damn well they were not accepting that. It was just the wrong time for that show to be coming in.
Mhm.
Um, these romantic sort of Les Mis-esque type of shows, they didn't want them at that. I mean, it's still kind of, I think now maybe people will be like, hey, we need something like that, because there isn't anything like it. Everyone's
Yeah.
too scared to sort of do it because they feel like it's kind of um a bit I don't know what the word is, the whole romanticism thing, but there's this kind of snobbery attached to it. They don't want to have these sweeping scores. Name me a show which is like that. I mean, Phantom's just closed. Les Mis has been gone for a while. They don't have anything like it because they don't. There's this kind of resentment toward. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't fully know why, but the idea of having something which is romantic and loving and with a lush score kind of offends people nowadays.
Mhm.
They kind of make it feel like it's antiquated, which to me is very unfair. And I think everything has its place, within reason. Um, but the show wasn't treated very well, and I agree with some of the comments about it. But I feel like Lucy Simon's score was stunning. I feel like a lot of Dez's direction was amazing, and some of the set design was the problem is with that theater, the lack of the show is very intimate, and you're in a barn. So to generate intimacy and to create connection and emotional feeling with the audience, and you're in a barn,
Yeah.
you're kind of setting yourself up for a bit of a fall.
Mhm.
Um, but the set design and some of the production values were so huge because obviously it's set around wartime. We had the Gatling gun on stage, for Christ's sake. It was epic.
Yeah.
So it was kind of this epic kind of like Les Mis kind of style show, but like through with romance, and ultimately the core of it is about a quartet of, or a quintet actually, of emotional character, um it's like an emotional character driven story. So the Gatling gun may look good, but actually it's not. It's kind of distracting from what we're actually trying to talk about, which is
Yeah.
like these intimate characters, and I feel like the story kind of got lost within that personally. Um, but I understand, Broadway what is Broadway? Broadway can be big and it's interesting. Since then, everything now it feels like a lot more scaled back and refined and
Yeah.
less set, less this. You've noticed now how Broadway's gone that. And I know that's cost effective as well, but actually people now want to see characters and want to feel emotionally connected to people. And
Yeah.
I feel like Zhivago, if we scaled it back, actually it has a place. It just
I would
needs
say
to be.
then, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
talk.
go, no, you go, no, you go,
I was
go.
gonna say with you even saying that how it was like this big, because I remember with the interviews and everything coming out because I was very excited. I mean, I back in the day, I think I actually own like a TV movie version they did with Keira Knightley, which they totally
Yeah,
changed
yeah, they did.
around. And I think your ending of Zhivago, isn't it a little different from like what's in the book as well?
It is slightly different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember I can't remember how it's fully different, but it was different. We did change elements,
Yeah.
but not massively so though. Um, but
Also, I do remember because I again in my research of you rewatched the clips of the show and I forgot how raked that stage was.
yeah, and again, it's like another thing where you kind of feel like it was literally like we were leaning forward all night, and we were. You kind of yeah, it's a difficult one for me because obviously it was my Broadway debut and it kind of got squashed, and I felt like it deserved more light because the performers and the performances within it were very very good, I felt, and the music within it was stunning. I think it's stunning music.
Yeah.
I think there were great aspects to it, but
But yes, with you
just wrong
saying like,
place, wrong time, wrong place, wrong time. And I do believe that if you know, maybe if we tried it in a different, more intimate setting and scaled back a bit and made it more about character, relationships and development and emotional connection, I feel like it would have landed better. I do believe so.
well, I know that they did or they're doing a concert of it in London,
They did do one, yeah, already.
but I did not see the original production of The Color Purple, which ironically was at the Broadway Theater. But I did see the revival, and it was a very scaled back version.
Right.
So with you saying what you're saying, like, Zhivago could easily have a place doing a very scaled back version at some point.
I think they might try and do it, and they might try and do it in London. I mean, it's I mean the score. I mean obviously Lucy's left us now, sadly. What a wonderful human she was as well. Because obviously I have the connection with her from doing Secret Garden as well. So I was very lucky to to have been one of her, being able to sing some of her music, which is, you know, amazing. But I do believe that, you know, it deserves another shot. Um, I just felt like at the time as well, the industry and the critics, specifically the critics, were it kind of felt like a little bit of a witch hunt, to be honest, as well. I think Des, I love Des, and Des is, you know, he's very um um flamboyant in his production styles and the way he is. I just felt like they wanted to sort of almost make an example of him, but I don't know. It just kind of it felt a little bit too personal for me, to be honest. When I was some of the stuff I was reading, um, which was hard to, you know, funnily enough, I remember reading, because I'm not one of these people that reads reviews the day of or the day after, because I just don't do it, because I think it's also a little bit masochistic and not necessary. But I people that can do it is kudos to you, but I'd like to leave things alone till I had a bit of time to sort of digest and move away from it, and then I would go back and I read things. And actually, my personal stuff was actually relatively pretty good, but which I was quite, you know, obviously, you know, from a personal point of view, it's like, oh wow, great, but like, actually didn't really matter. It didn't make a difference to me because I kind of felt like the show, the responsibility lied with me, and the whole show got squashed. So henceforth, I got squashed with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt like Des was very much uh, set upon, and I didn't think it was fair either. I think a lot of it was just felt like we don't want this kind of show in here right now. This is the wrong time for this. We don't need this kind of show. Get out. And that's what happened.
Mm.
That's what happened. You know, we were kind of along the same time as Fun Home and things like that. You know what I mean? So, which is very different.
Yeah.
If you're comparing Fun Home to something like Doctor Zhivago, which is an epic, romantic, you know,
Yeah.
book musical,
Yeah.
you know, to a Fun Home score and book, which is very kind of, I don't know what the word is, but very different.
Different. Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because, when I was in college, Spring Awakening was out. Like, I saw the OG cast, all that stuff. And years later, even like recently, we would my friends and I would talk about it, and we'd say, Spring Awakening, if it were to come out now, it wouldn't have the impact that it did when it first came out, like almost, almost
No, no,
20 years
no,
ago, as I like comment when I say it.
no, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Not
Yeah.
right now, because now I kind of feel like everything's trying to sort of a little bit be like that. There's the musical theater now is very interesting. It's kind of, it's in a funny place, I think. I think it's, you know, with all the movements that have happened, Me Too, Black Lives Matter, all the rest of it, diversity shift and everything. And um you know, public sort of how the public wants to be perceived and how people want to be perceived within things. And I feel like writers are scared to write what they feel and really commit to it. Um, and I think musical theater is taking a bit of a hit with that a little bit because it's the stuff that's kind of there's a lot of like revival sort of happening. Have you noticed? Because it's safe. Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot coming to Broadway this season. And like for some reason, I'm only thinking of like Suffs and the Who's Tommy, which I'm actually really excited about as somebody who likes classic rock.
Speaking
Uh,
of Des, it's Des again.
oh,
He's bringing it. He's
yeah,
bringing it back.
yeah. They're bringing my dad's like, I already got tickets. It's like, great. You want to take me? No, he'll take my stepmom. But I feel like there's so like musical theater is like so diverse now with like so many different types of
It is.
shows out there. Like you have Hell's Kitchen coming, you have Suffs, you have Water for Elephants. Like even they have like a new version of like Uncle Vanya coming
As
to
a musical.
no, it's a play, but it has I'm a huge fan of the American Office, so you have
Right.
Rel in it, and
Right.
I'm actually more excited about Alfred Molina coming into the show.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, they
I
do have
mean,
a lot of Broadway revivals because I just remember Cabaret. I think it's going to be I saw the last revival of Cabaret, so I'm curious to see this production of Cabaret.
well, the thing with the revivals, it's less risk, isn't it? Because you know that it's obviously a success because of the show has stood the test of time in the sense that people will go and see it again. Um, New shows, i.e., like Water for Elephants, for example, or Hell's Kitchen, which I heard is, excuse me, is very good, very interesting. It's brilliant. We know you want to see new works, but with that comes a larger element of risk because people don't know it.
Mhm.
People have got less money to spend on the theater. If you're going to come to the theater, what do I want to see? Well, there's this show which I know some of the songs from, or am I
Mhm.
going to take a punt on something which I have no idea what it's about? I have no idea what the music's like. This is like, I mean, obviously, I'm just speculating what people would say, but like, Broadway uh, aficionados who go all the time would sort of turn around and say, "Oh no, I'm going to see everything." But for a tourist to come in and go, "What do I want to see right now?" Well, I'm going to go and see Merrily We Roll Along, or I'm going to go and see because it's got Harry Potter in it, or I'm going to go and see Moulin Rouge because I know Moulin Rouge, or it's very difficult for a new show to land.
Yeah.
But you need them. We need them to land because we need new writing because that's what things need to keep moving forward, and keep with diversity things need to the tree needs to keep being shaken. We don't. I love the revivals. Don't get me wrong, I do. But like, in theory, we shouldn't need them, should we? If the writing is good and everyone's confident and everyone's a revival. I feel like there are too many revivals. I feel like there should be when a revival comes, it should be like, oh my God, that's coming back. Amazing. Let's see what they do with it. Now
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, that one's back again.
I
Do you know what
think
I mean? There's
well
a
that's
different.
why I felt that way with Glass Menagerie because there was like years ago there were the John Tiffany revival and then like just like a few years later there was another revival that had Sally Field in it and it was just on Broadway. I feel like something like the Who's Tommy is fine because it has
It's been a significant amount of time.
yeah,
So you kind of go, okay,
yeah.
what's Des going to do with it? Is he going to redo it the same? I don't know. And then I know that Spamalot has been heavily criticized for basically being a reincarnation of what it was before. Um,
There's
but
differences, just saying, like for those listening, there are differences.
there are okay.
Are
Sorry,
different.
I'm just like I didn't want to give it away, but it's it's I don't know. Listen, I love a revival. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like the whole idea of musical theater is it evolves,
Mhm.
and you want new work and new writing. You want diverse writing. You want things to be current and to be interesting. And it doesn't mean to say you can't write a book musical about a a piece of work from the 1800s, for example, a Doctor Zhivago, but like that's a new piece of work, for example. You're going to try and create something with it. That's not, but it's about, to keep moving the goalposts, keep trying, keep pushing the boundaries.
What
Because I don't need to see Guys and Dolls again. I don't personally. I'm done. I don't need to see Guys and Dolls.
when
There are about 100 productions of it in England right now. I'm like, why?
when I was in London or going to London, I had so many people saying to me like, "Oh, are you going to go see Cabaret? You're going to go see Guys and Dolls?" It's like, I don't have any interest in Guys and Dolls. I'm sure it's a cool thing. I don't
Like
need.
Sunset Boulevard. I mean, I know Nicole Scherzinger apparently is amazing in it, and all the rest of it. And
Well, it's
and
also
Lloyd's
by
Productions.
it's
Why? They just did it here, and they're bringing it over. I'm like, is there nothing else that people can write? Are we that lacking in talent that we can't create new
I think it's
material?
because of the interpretation of it. And I will say that director, he's a very good director, but I feel like a lot of his stuff kind of just looks the same to me because it's all very like,
Jamie stuff?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not aware with Jamie, but I mean, the stuff I've seen of his, I always love. I mean, I saw his, I think
He
he did
has
Yuri,
that play
Yuri.
he did in London a few months ago called The Effect is actually going to be performed at the Shed.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about necessarily the director per se. It's more to do with like the fact that they feel like, oh, I don't know. I mean, each to their own. Some people might turn around and say, "Well, I love a revival," and then you just go to, then you sort of say, "Well, that's completely your opinion. It's completely valid." So if you want to see a revival, amazing.
Mhm.
Um, but I always feel like that in terms of the opera world as well. Like where you think about all those amazing operas that were made, like Puccini and Verdi and yeah, like Mozart and all these wonderful pieces of work that were in. And nowadays, you think you couldn't. Could you name anybody that writes like amazing operas now? Could you?
I'm not a big opera person, so no.
I
But
kind of. Could anyone actually like name someone who's like it's in? So it seems like it's just sort of stopped. I don't know. Like when's Adam Gettle gonna write something else?
he has been
Christ.
he's working on, I mean, didn't he do the music for Wine and Roses or the
Okay, well, Adam, it's been about 20 years, mate. What are you doing?
he did that. He's writing something I heard. But for me, I have said this for a while, and it's nothing against anything. I want to see an original Broadway production or original show that's not based on anything. I don't want
Agree. Yeah, yeah,
thing
exactly.
based
Why
on
not?
real and not saying that these shows are bad. I mean, How to Dance in Ohio was just so delightful and wonderful. Um, but that's based on real life events. And then you have like, Water for Elephants, that's based on a book, and you have all these things. I just want to see an original idea of a musical come to
No,
fruition.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you because
And I've been saying it for
that's
years.
all. But it's fear based. It's fear based because Broadway's expensive. To put on
Mhm.
a show is expensive, and if they don't have the source material, you have to think about your audiences.
Yeah.
Are they going to come and see it? So that's why things don't like the newer writings or newer ideas or original ideas probably get shelved a little bit more than like let's do a remash of Beetlejuice. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
um, but I get it, but I'm with you. I want to see new, rather than remake something and shoehorn a character and make the character different. Just write something new. Write
Mhm.
something for that demograph. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like be more articulate and creative in that aspect rather than taking something which is kind of antiquated and was always a bit difficult anyway and shoehorning somebody into it to try and make it current and relevant. I'm like, do you realize what you're doing? That doesn't make it better. That makes it kind of a bit convoluted and a bit messy. Let's just write something which can really show off and express the current world and the current diverse atmosphere that we live in. Give people an opportunity. Don't try and pigeonhole and squash somebody. I don't know. I mean, to me, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Like this
You
whole
know,
like colorblind casting, all that kind of stuff. It drives me crazy. It really does, because I feel like they've got it so backwards. It just doesn't even. I don't even think they know what they're doing. I don't. I really honestly don't. And I just think it's about creating opportunities, new opportunities, and which are rewarding and interesting, and sort of it's about articulating it in such a way where it creates interest and nuance and I don't know. I don't. I could go to town on it. It's just to me, it just drives me round the bend. Like, let's do this show and we're going to put this person in it because we think that's really interesting. I'm like, really? You can just write a new show, and make something interesting and use that person's skills and make something magical with them? Really? I don't know. There's so many talented people out there. It blows my mind that it doesn't make sense that they can't be. The writing isn't there. Just doesn't make sense.
yeah, I'm sure there's productions and stuff out there. It's just not getting produced in the way that they would hope it is. I mean, there's also a lot of theater companies who are trying to put new things out there, try new things.
But then you have to ask why it's not being produced. And I feel like we're still in the same sort of situation, really. I think things are changing, but I don't think they're changing as they should be.
Yeah,
I think things are still being overlooked when they shouldn't be.
yeah,
Things are being like sort of like, oh yeah, that's not okay. We'll just give that I think I think things needs to change. They do, and I think it will be for the better as well, because there's a place for everybody and everything.
mhm,
Nothing should be off the shelf in the sense. If you want to see an epic, sweeping, lush musical, you should be going to see it. Broadway's the place to have it.
yeah,
What is Broadway? It's a place to showcase everything, every talent, every aspect of every color shade, or like vocal technique or everything, acting, whatever you want to call it. It's the place to showcase.
yeah,
Um, if you want us to go and see like a really intricate kind of character-driven, you know, farce, whatever, that's the place to go and see it. It's,
mm,
where's the work? Where is it?
yeah.
Where
Do you think London does a good job showcasing these things as well, or not
I
so much?
think I've been it's funny, I've been keeping an eye on it recently, and I actually feel like London's upped its game a lot in terms of musicals specifically. Yes. I mean, plays, I think London is always like the pinnacle. I don't think it could be matched, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think they're uh I think they're exceptional in what they do. Musicals, I always feel like, everyone goes Broadway, there's a reason it's Broadway. But in terms of the material
mhm,
and new writing, specifically new writing, I feel like London's really become super interesting recently.
yeah,
Um, and that's kind of exciting. Um, it's not like I'm not seeing so many revivals. I'm seeing stuff which I've not even heard of before.
mhm,
New writers, new, like um book writers, new directors, new which is great, which is what you want.
yeah,
New lyricists and composers. It's exciting. I think London's upped its game massively recently.
yeah. When I was there,
Apart from the Guys and Dolls thing, which we can sort of say
well, it's like
is
a totally different interpretation of it because it's interactive. But like I said, when I was there, I didn't see that or cabaret. For me, I wanted to see something that I couldn't see in New York, that I hadn't already seen, or that I had an inkling that might come to New York. So I ended up seeing A Little Life
all right.
twice.
Okay.
I saw The Shape of Things off West End. What else did I see? I saw, because I missed it when I was in New York. I saw Eddie Izzard's
Yeah,
Expectations, and they're coming back with Hamlet. And what else did I
he's
see?
amazing. I mean, he's amazing. I love him.
Yeah.
I've seen him. I saw him do tryouts downtown as well. You know, sometimes he
Wow.
does some stuff downtown.
Yeah.
He's he's extraordinary,
Yeah, he just
extraordinary human.
performed, he did his comedy tour at the Beacon. And I like walked by the day it was
Yeah,
happening. I was like, oh, I forgot. But yeah, he's doing awesome
he's
on it
extraordinary. He's an
next
extraordinary
month.
human being.
Yeah. And then I also saw a musical, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
See, do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I know
And
that's a movie and whatever, but like, you know, think,
yeah,
okay.
so it's based on the F. Scott Fitzgerald book, and I think they took, I didn't read it, but I saw the movie, but they took liberties, I think, with it. And
Hmm.
I have to tell you, it's probably one of the best things that I saw there.
Great.
And I can 100% see it in New York, but it would just be a matter of like who they would cast in it.
Right, right, right.
Because I feel like it would be a hard sell if you didn't have like at least a theater name in it.
It is interesting because a lot of New York stuff goes to London, but not much musical theater stuff from London comes over here. It's very
Yeah, I
interesting.
think more plays come
Or
to,
play, all the plays come over here.
I feel
Anything
like
that,
also, sorry, go ahead.
no, all the good plays come over here, but all the music, anything that's musical theater, generally, it's interesting. It's kind of still that kind of stigma where we'll take your plays, but we've got our musicals.
I know they brought
Um,
Ghost over. I
Give
did
me a
not see
break.
it,
Give me a
but
break. Come
they
on.
brought
Come
Ghost
on.
over. Um, what was I gonna say? I don't remember. I will say when I stage doored a little life to proposition somebody to come onto my podcast, that didn't happen. I was talking to one of the actors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, if we ever bring it to New York, I think it would not be on Broadway, but it would probably be either on like this space or this
Right,
space."
right, right.
Which makes sense because that show I feel like would be kind of hard to play on Broadway, to be
Right.
honest. But they mentioned the Armory, and I was like, that actually be a really good place for it.
Yeah.
It's also, it's not an easy, have not read the book, but it's definitely not an easy play because, people call the book trauma porn.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's Yvonne von Hove directed it. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes down, self-harm and sexual assault and
He's doing a new show actually, a new musical actually, which I just auditioned for
really,
recently.
oh,
Yeah. I didn't get it, but it's okay.
Ted
Um,
Lasso, the musical.
it's not Ted Lasso the musical, but it is an interesting piece because um I was very good on it. I kind of did a lot of research on it. I watched the movie. There's a movie. It's based on a movie. And it's something which you would never think watching a movie. You know, sometimes you watch a movie and you go like, I'm gonna make a musical of this.
Yeah,
Like no one in their right mind
they
would ever
did.
think this is gonna be a musical. A
Mhm,
play, I'd be like, this is gonna be a very interesting play. But a
mhm.
musical, I was like, hell no. Anyway, but it was interesting. I think it's interesting. And again, it's it's going in London, and I'll be curious to see what happens with it. It's one of those kind of I always feel like those. I feel like London does the ones. London does very well the kind of like bougie kind of musicals,
Mhm.
ones which we know which are gonna last for about a limited run, like the Don Mar production, for example. We're gonna do 3 month run, and that's it. And it might transfer onto West End for an extended period of time, but like it feels very much like that, kind of like almost like a play, a musical, which is like a play kind of thing. That's how I feel like London does musicals very well. Um, Here, I feel like they know they do the larger scale, bombastic, um, um, grandiose musical theater. They do it better here, I think.
Yeah,
Because there's more money here as well, I think.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of a decent transition into Moulin Rouge,
Mm.
if you want to
Yeah,
talk about it
yeah,
quickly.
we can talk about Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Um, so
How did that come into your life? Because, since Zhivago, you've done Encores, you've done Secret Garden, which is another show that people keep talking about a revival of.
um Moulin Rouge came about when I was what was I doing? So interesting again, because I was like an audition came in. It was the same time as Pretty Woman, actually. And I got
Were you with Pretty Woman at any point?
no, 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 not at all. I had two auditions. I had a Pretty Woman one, and the Moulin Rouge came one. And I was reading both materials, and it was for the Pretty Woman was a bit further along. And it was going to be going into, I think it was going to Chicago, wherever it was going for its tryout.
Hmm.
And Moulin Rouge was doing a downtown
That's my guilty
workshop.
pleasure musical, so I'm like very aware of Pretty Woman.
Yeah, it was like a workshop kind of thing.
Mm,
And then um I remember thinking, okay, well, I went in for both, and at the time I was before the Moulin Rouge one, I was like, I remember calling my agent and saying, and I've said this many a time, I don't want to go in for this. It doesn't make sense. I don't kind of get the writing. Um, I had a very sort of strong sort of connection with the movie and what it was, and it felt like when I was reading it, I was like, it feels like this part is it doesn't make sense to me. It just feels so alien. So they said, listen, just go in. You're going in. So they made me go in because I was going to pass on it.
mhm.
So I went in and it obviously went very well. And I ended up getting it. And we did the downtown workshop and tryout. And then we ended up going to Boston. And then we ended up going to Broadway. And then it was kind of like one of those, again, near miss experiences, but which turned out to be something sort of extraordinary and um life changing and magical in a sense. And um, yeah, it's kind of it's fascinating to sort of think you can like in a moment you could sort of say no to something which actually could be something which could be part of your life for like 5, 6 years or 7 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's obviously the show ran had obviously the COVID interruption
Mhm.
which so the my longevity within it probably was extended massively because of that um for all of us um but it was a huge sort of chunk of all of our performance lives in a sense if you think about it because we for those of us who started at a ground sort of like the ground level it was several years before it when it finally went back to Broadway after COVID and then sort of landed.
Yeah.
It was a long time. So it was a
Mhm.
long time to be with one show.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, I actually saw it in Boston.
Hmm.
And when I saw it again in New York, I noticed some differences. I can't remember so much the Duke stuff, but I know that they changed who sang Chandelier.
Yeah.
They did a song for Ziedler. But the thing I remember the most is like the very end of the show, where in Boston, Christian actually explains what happens after the events of the show, and then they cut that for the Broadway
Yeah,
production.
there's a lot of changes actually. I mean, I actually my favorite, being personal and honest, my favorite was the Boston production. I felt like the Boston production had like a more of a darker element to it.
Mhm.
I felt like it was grittier and a bit more dangerous. I kind of felt like that kind of interim between because we didn't get to have a switch straight away. Sometimes when you have a transfer from like a regional and you go like your Broadway transfer is happening, there's a hiatus and it can be sometimes a lot shorter. So it could be like, oh, we're going into town in a month or we're going in, but we didn't go in for about 6, 7 months. I don't think it was, or maybe longer than that. Um, and sadly, I think what that does is with writers when they're kind of with something, I think they want to write.
Mhm.
So I think you start tweaking when you don't necessarily need to tweak.
Yeah.
Um, and producers get involved and everyone has an opinion and before you know it, suddenly the show becomes something very different. So where by the time we got into Broadway, the show was very different. It didn't feel as Parisian, if I'm honest. It felt just the underbelly of it wasn't as in my opinion, just my opinion, interesting. I felt like for want of a word, without being crass, it almost felt like it had been Disneyfied. And I don't know whether that's to do with the writers or whether that's to do with the producers to market it in such a way where more people would come and see it. Um, but that's something I've always felt. I felt like Boston had sort of an edgier feel to it. And I felt like we should have, if anything, gone down that road and traveled, with kept that sort of essence of it rather than the sort of cleaner version that we ended up with. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Did you try to keep any of that like grittiness to your role?
I mean, my role overall relatively stayed the same. I mean, there were moments, but I mean, it did get toned down. It did for sure. I mean, there were moments early doors which were it was much darker. Um, but when you're in a situation where you're a person of power and uh, the handling of a woman and the way that wanted to be sort of put across, especially in the darker moments in the show, they wanted to lighten it and make it less uncomfortable, maybe potentially for audience members and stuff, which I understand. Um, but I felt like it kind of diluted the truth of the characters in a sense. So it kind of became a bit um I don't know what the word is again, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It's just it was for me just again, it's just my personal opinion, like and take on things. I feel like we could have there was more to be gleaned from each character, and I understand that you have to try not to offend and disappoint or upset people, but ultimately, as an actor, you don't think of things like that. You think of things in the sense of like, what is this character? What is his truth? And when you feel like your truth is being kind of muddied, it becomes very then difficult to sort of play it. Um, but I still felt like the show landed very well, and people obviously love it because it's running very well, and we did a very good job of it. And um, it's some of the elements of it are extraordinary. It's like something I've never sort of been around or experienced before. So there's lots to be proud of and to champion. I just, like in retrospect, I kind of, wish I'd like to have been able to sort of had a moment and sort of like been interested to see where we could have gone with it in a different, and like, with time and no sort of expectations just to see what else could we have done with this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the bright side, you made some great friends, you did some live Instagrams, did a makeup tutorial.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
It was,
there ever, yeah,
I use my time very wisely, obviously.
you even had like a coffee thing set
Yep,
up, right? Coffee
yep,
at Boots or whatever. I don't know
yeah,
why I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also you have a podcast or had a podcast with
Right.
Ricky Watts. Is that coming back? Because you guys haven't
Well, we
done it.
talked about it. I don't know. We might do. Obviously, life gets in the way sometimes, and he's been busy, and I've been busy, obviously, with kids and stuff, and it's been a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm we're due a check-in, so I don't know. Maybe.
You just do like another concert at the green room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except maybe another one of those.
Yeah, why not? Right. So getting back to like playing another maniacal character, I guess you like those.
Yeah, I tend
Oliver?
to do a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why again, Ted Lasso, the musical, Roy Kent, he's not
There,
maniacal, it's just
there you
grumpy.
go. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone's working on it right now. You say that, and
sure.
someone's trying to work on it.
Yeah. Because everybody wants a season four, apparently. But
Right.
so this is like your third production with Encores,
Hmm.
did Oliver. I
Hmm.
honestly don't know Oliver that well. I'm gonna be completely honest
That's
with you.
okay.
But I did sing a song from it for my college audition for the musical theater program, which I did
Uh,
not get into, which is totally fine. But how was the experience with Oliver? Was there any talk of possibly having that come to Broadway, because with encores, there's always that
Yeah.
rumbling of possible or hopefulness of something more happening with the production.
I mean, there were 100% was there were, and I bearing in mind it hadn't been done since the 1980s was the last time I think it was on Broadway. I went into it thinking this has got a very good shot because it's such a popular show. It's a wonderful show. The characters are really super interesting. I don't feel like there's anything like it on Broadway right now. So when
Mhm.
we went into it, I felt like there was a great possibility of that, and the cast was magical.
Yeah.
Director Lear is amazing, and working at City Center again is another. I love working there. They're a wonderful bunch, and they do great work, and it's hair on a fire, as Raul would Esperanza would say. It literally is that, you go in and your hair's on fire for 2 weeks and you get a show out and then you're proud of it and you move on, but you survive, spare by the skin of your teeth. But it's we had a great time. It was, working with those kids every day, seeing them light up the stage and working with Raoul and Lear and Lily and everyone was wonderful. And and it's one of those places where you kind of don't have time to think. You kind of have to just immerse yourself and throw yourself into it. And we became a family and very close knit very quickly. So the fact that it kind of hasn't gone on and hasn't had a life afterwards, I don't know it was supposed to, but things, politics and monies, obviously generally it comes down to money, um, get involved and it hasn't come to pass. But maybe it will at some point. But I know it's due a comeback. So and I know that Lear was very, pushing for it, vehemently. So, but I felt like our production was great and we had a great time and people really seemed to enjoy it. Um, It's just, that's the only sour note I have to say on it, really, that we haven't been able to do more of it because it was so fun, and working with those people was such a wonderful experience, and being with those kids and stuff, and it was great. It really was, honestly. It's another one of my top 5 experiences.
Yeah. Do you have any roles that you would like to go back to revisit?
I would love to have another pop at probably all of them, to be honest, because as you get older, you kind of think, oh, I wonder what I'd do with that. Or I wonder how I'd change that differently. What's my perception of how's my life sort of changed, how I view that now.
Mm-hmm.
Javert specifically, I probably would. Stone and City of Angels, I probably would. Um, they're two of them for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. You think about things and you kind of go, oh yeah. And as you get older and you get more experienced,
Mm-hmm.
you're sort of um the way you sort of view things changes. So definitely, I probably would. Yeah, those two. I would say those two for sure.
Do you have any top going theater experiences?
Top going theater experiences. I remember going to see La Bête with Mark Rylance.
Mm-hmm.
I remember his speech, which lasted about 25-30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which was
I'm
just
laughing to myself because I worked
out of
with
this
him at
world,
that show.
out of
So
this world,
yeah,
out of this world.
we sold a t-shirt with a chair on it that said Francesca.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna excuse me for 1 minute. Do you mind? Is that okay?
We're back. So we were talking about you saw Labette with Mark Rylance's like
Hmm. That
30
was
minute monologue.
Yeah, that was kind of an amazing experience. Just to see, it just blew my mind the fact that he could sort of hold command the stage for that amount of time, and
Yeah.
um, you know, the thought of just even learning that amount of text and being in control of it, and it was mind blowing.
I
And I
think,
mentioned, yeah, go on.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I think he actually did 2 shows that season. I think he also did Jerusalem that
Yes,
season.
he did. Yeah, he did.
And
That's
then like
correct.
they just did a revival of it in London, like I think at the beginning of the year.
That is correct. He did.
Yeah.
He's extraordinary. Extraordinary. That
Yeah.
was what I remember being completely blown away by that performance. Um, Two other ones probably are um The Play That Goes Wrong. I remember seeing that and I thought that was just from the hilarity point of view, just like to be able to sit there and laugh out loud,
Mhm.
uncontrollably for that amount of time. Um, in a setting where everyone's doing the same thing was kind of magical. Um, and seeing Hugh in Oklahoma, in London, and the National, that was another one probably.
I don't think I've ever seen him like live on stage in a musical. I saw him in the Chaz Butterworth show. I believe it was called The River. They did it
Right,
at
very true.
Circle Square. That was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for,
No, you are
all
you,
the places. You're like, yeah, no,
you
that's where it was, Allison. Get it right.
no, you're good.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any dream roles or projects? I mean, other than playing Roy Kent that you would like to do?
Um, Dream roles.
I feel like we also need to like have a contest of like how many times we've mentioned Roy Kent in this podcast.
Probably too many. It's given him
Yeah.
too much publicity.
Yeah.
Dream roles. I mean, I would love to play Sweeney Todd. I know that's going on Broadway right now, and they've just done a recent cast change with a person we know very well and a friend of mine. Um, but that's always been on a list because I feel like it's another dark role which I'm yet to touch upon. Um,
Any lighter roles that you'd like to play at some point in your life, or you just want to stick with the dark?
I've always wanted to be. I'm interested in playing Guido in Nine.
I could see that.
Just I just think it's uh, such a fun kind of. I don't know. There aren't many, but I mean, again, I mean, I'm not a massive musical
Mhm.
buff in sense of like I know everything. Um, but definitely those two for sure. But I'm sure people would have suggestions. I'm happy to hear them.
I don't know.
You
I
know,
kind of like the Guido idea. That's like forever in my head now of a role that you need to play. Like
yeah, that would be fun. That'd be fun. That would
Sweeney
be something.
Todd, everybody wants it. Guido, you actually don't hear that often.
No, they don't. They don't talk
Yeah.
about it, and it's not been done for a little while. So I wonder.
Yeah. Well, they did the movie.
Yeah, he was, and I like Daniel Day. I know people ragged on Daniel Day-Lewis a little bit, but I thought, yeah, I actually quite liked him. I thought he was good. He
Yeah.
did
I
a good
liked
job.
Fergie.
Yeah, they all did. I think they all did a good job. I think they did a good job with it. It's Rob Marshall, isn't it? He did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Rob. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
worked with Rob. He's another amazing person.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
um,
Oh, are you thinking of like any other things that you might want to?
no, I can't think of anything else right now.
New works would be great.
New
Uh,
work's always fun,
yeah.
like new stuff. We like new because new's like unknown and just explorative and
Would
um
you ever want to do, because you like in, I don't want to say your youth, but it was like 20 years ago, you did like a lot of Shakespeare. Would
hmm.
you do more Shakespeare? Would you do any straight plays? Would you want to do more?
Yeah, I mean, I love all that. I mean, yeah, I'm always open to whatever, as long as it's something that's interesting and actors. I mean, like sometimes it's about like where the work is, and you go where the work is. I mean, I have been offered a couple of a Shakespeare's over in Washington, at the theater down there, and I've not been able to do them a couple of times, and but I would, yeah, for sure. I love doing Shakespeare's fun. I mean, it's scary biscuits when you think you have to learn it all, but actually, when you're doing it, the doing of it and the process of it is kind of really fun. Plays, I would love to be involved in plays. Plays are, I've done a few of them in England, and the thing is that when you've done musicals and stuff, it's people come to you for musicals, don't they? They think you can sing a bit or whatever, and it kind of seems to override everything else. But I mean, yeah, of course, I'd love to. I mean, I'm happy to do anything. If it's interesting and people will have me, then great.
Would you ever want to do like, I mean, it's not coming back until 2025, but Shakespeare in the Park?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did Regent's Park in London, which is the equivalent. You know, it's magical. I've seen two, three shows in the Shakespeare in the Park.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's magical experience.
Yeah. And I do
It's
agree with the whole musical theater doing playthings because in my many years of chatting with people who are musical theater, they have said that, it's very hard to sometimes get out of that bubble because when people hear musical theater, they don't necessarily think of you for straight plays.
no, for sure. It's true.
And
They do a little bit, a little bit. It's you kind of have to sort of uh, in a sense abstain from doing a musical for a while, and then they kind of remember that you can do other things, get in the room. And but it's fine. Work is, as long as you're working, and it's fun and you feel like you're progressing and enjoying yourself. That's the main thing, I think, for sure.
all right, Tam, it's time for these inside the actor studio
Come
questions.
on, let's hear him. Let's
I
go.
only told you three of them, but let's start off with the first one. What
Okay.
is your favorite word?
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you. I did not come up with that question.
What's my favorite word? Oh my God. Um, Obtuse.
What is your least favorite word?
I think it's probably a swear word.
That's fine. You can say it.
Um, my least favorite word is probably the C word.
I will say your former co-star from Zhivago was on the podcast,
Oh, okay.
Alexander Nolan, and he mentioned at some point the C word, and he did not say it, but somehow at the end I got him to say it in a British accent. So
There you go.
there you go.
There you go.
I didn't even like make him do it. It just happened, and it was a glorious moment.
My God, Paul, what are you doing, Paul? What are you doing?
He's doing water for elephants. That's what's happening.
No, yeah, he's fine. He's like he's job to job at the moment. He's doing fine. Good for him.
What turns you on?
Oh my God. My wife,
What turns you off?
a lack of manners.
What is your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word. Uh, probably probably the S word, shit. Probably
I
that.
told you you can curse on the podcast.
Probably shit. Probably
There it
that.
is.
Probably that.
Perfect. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise?
Do you love? Yes.
Um, I love the sound. I mean, it's obviously like very relevant and that, but my youngest's voice at the moment, she's just learning to sort of say words. So, that's Vespa. Her little just sort of speaking and expressions. That it's kind of extraordinary to sort of hear someone try and speak and communicate with you. So her sounds are hilarious, but also really moving and wonderful. So probably that.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Um, Eight. I don't like. Can I be broader? I don't like. I just don't like loud noise. Like really when it's really loud. Um, it doesn't necessarily need to be anything specific, but when it gets too loud, I feel like I start to drown a little, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So loud noise, I just think the broad term of like really, really loud noise. So like the idea of going to super obnoxious concerts and which are, with I can't enjoy it because I feel like I'm drowning. That makes sense.
Yeah. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Oh, wow. Would I like to attempt or
Yes. I know what you were about to ask, and that might be the next question. So this one is like to attempt.
um I'd like to be I like to attempt. That's different. Like, would I want to attempt? Would I like to attempt?
It could be want. It's the same in this scenario.
I'd probably say like a professional um soccer coach for
What?
sure.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk
No,
over you.
you're good. You're good.
What profession would you not like to do?
Well, that's not fair because I feel like then you're ragging on someone whose job, that's someone's job description.
Listen, I mean, there are doctors and lawyers and things in my family's life. I wouldn't want to do that, and it's nothing against their profession.
No, I agree. But I'd probably say I wouldn't want to be a lawyer because I wouldn't want to lie for a living.
It depends on what type of lawyer.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Exactly. You know where I'm going with that. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like I wouldn't want to have to, bend the truth all the time in
yeah.
order to make money. I just feel like there's something quite morally which just doesn't sit very well with me. And I get like, they're the skilled and it's not always a cut and dry in that. And I'm not like ragging out lawyers and all the rest of it. But like to me, it's, you could argue, you could throw politicians into that as well. There's both of them go hand in hand, really.
No comment. Okay. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You made it.
And as James Lipton would say, here are your students. Tam, one final question.
Go ahead.
I feel like we've talked about this because we've been chatting for a very long time already.
Yeah, we have.
Why do you think theater is important?
I think just like because it resonates with people
Mhm.
because it it creates significant moments in people's lives which they can um connect with, which they can, like I said, resonate with. And there's kind of nothing quite like it. It's it's it has this kind of like sort of magic quality to it, which you can't really describe. It it should make sense, but it doesn't make sense. And that's why I think um people need theater. And that's probably like a really vague answer, but that's what I'm giving everyone.
Listen, it's whatever you feel. So, before we end, is there anything else you like to add? Problems, questions, concern, life advice?
No,
Yeah.
I think we covered all that in the podcast, I think I
Yeah.
was pretty honest with certain things and um I want I just want there to be, as I said, equal opportunity and all the rest of it for everybody, and there's a place for everybody at the table. It's a big table.
Mhm.
Everyone deserves a shot.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves a chance to eat and share. There is.
And if
I think
anybody wants to work with you, how can they reach out to you to work with you?
through you.
Oh, yes, through me. At Theater Enthusiast Podcast. Thank you. Website coming next year. Um,
No, if anyone wants to work with me, they can reach out to me on my socials, which is at Tam Mutu
mhm,
on both on everything pretty much.
mhm.
And yeah, I'm very approachable, so don't be shy. If you have any questions, I'm always, even if it's just a question, I sometimes find my DMs filled with questions. I'm like, oh, okay. And
What's like the
there are some that which are like, you avoid, and there are some that which you will answer.
what's
But
like the
like,
strangest question you've been asked? Now I'm curious, or you can't repeat it. Okay. Well, Tam, you can stay on after we're recording. Thank you so much for.
oh, thank you for having me. It's
Wow,
been a
what a
pleasure.
way to end the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. No, but honestly, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've loved
Yeah, of
being here.
course.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome back anytime.
Bless you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for those listening.
Yes, thank you for those listening as well. It's very long. I hope you stay with us.
I don't know. We'll find out if he breaks the record for longest podcast
Oh, it
when
must be. It must be. It has to be.
I don't know. I mean, I think the longest one is like 3 hours and 14 minutes.
Well, that's pretty long.
Yeah,
Well, I think okay, we'll see.
we'll see. We'll find out later. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.